Good evening. I'd like to start this town council meeting. I'd like to ask the Eagle Scout, Ian, to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Soon to be Eagle Scout.
Eagle Cat, working on it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Ian. Okay, announcements. The town hall offices will close at 1 p.m. on Wednesday, December 24th, and will be closed on Thursday, December 25th for the observation of Christmas holiday. The offices will also be closed on Thursday, January 1st for the observance of New Year's Day. And I have several, get prepared for it, council here. We have budget meeting dates all set. On Thursday, January 8th, 7 p.m. here in the Matthew Thornton Room is a regular council meeting. On Monday, January 12th at 6 p.m. in this room is a budget meeting. Thursday, January 15th at 6 p.m. in this room is a budget meeting. Monday, January 19th at 6 p.m. also in this room, another budget meeting. And Thursday, January 22nd, again in this room, a regular council meeting.
If I might, humbug.
Okay. Before I ask Eileen for her announcements, I just wanted to make, first of all, it's really great seeing so many people here. I know it has to do with a lot of the commendations and the anniversaries of the various town employees, which we'll get to momentarily. I'm just not used to seeing so many faces looking up here. Anyway, I did want to make a quick comment about the recent information about the Kinder Morgan Tennessee Pipeline issue. A lot of people know about it, but I wanted to be able to summarize it. This has been the first public meeting we've had since the process has been initiated. Early in December, we received a call from Kinder Morgan wanting to meet with some council members to be able to get some information. At that point, we discussed it, and we decided that we did not want a private meeting. There was nothing that they were going to say to us in private that couldn't be said in public. So we let them know that we would welcome an information meeting, but it would be done in public. We would set up a separate meeting. We would not tie up a regular council meeting for it. And they said, okay, thanks, we'll get back to you. Since that time, we have received word that they want to be able to have a regional open house where they would invite the various towns that are involved in it to come at one point, at one place, to be able to have a meeting, to be able to provide information. I am officially asking that Kinder Morgan have a specific meeting for Merrimack. There are issues that will be involved with each town, not just Merrimack, where the citizens should have the right to be able to discuss and ask questions on an individual basis rather than having to deal with problems of other towns that will have their own specific issues. So I just wanted to make that public, and hopefully they'll respond to that request, and we'll, as soon as we know any information, we'll let you know. As many of you may know, we have made this public on our website, and any documents that we have received or correspondence that we have received, we have also put on the website for full transparency. Okay? So I just wanted to make sure that that's made public. Okay, Eileen.
Actually, I just had a quick question.
Absolutely.
Nancy, would you think it'd be appropriate for, or was that implied the town manager will be sending a letter requesting that meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Finley.
We can assume the meeting will be in Merrimack and not in Nashville, Tennessee.
Well, that's my request, and I think we could, if I can get together with you, Eileen, too, because I think the rationale is we should be able to provide an opportunity to address our specific issues. And every town should have that capability. And if you put it into a regional open house, you really don't have the ability to focus on your own concerns. So if you want, you and I can get together and we can draft something. Or you can draft it, and I'm sure you'll do fine. But any other comments that anyone else like to make? Okay, Eileen.
Okay, the Merrimack Police Department is still taking applications for its January Citizen Academy. If you have any interest, please contact Officer Kelleher at 424-3774. And that's all I have.
Short and sweet. Comments from the press or public? Seeing none. Recognitions, resignations, retirements. I should recuse myself from this. Acceptance of resignation of Phil Straight. By the way, Phil Straight's my husband, that's why I said that. From the Zoning Board of Adjustments, the Town Council to accept the resignation of Phil Straight from the Zoning Board of Adjustment, where he has served as a member since May of 2006.
Move approval with sincere regret.
Second.
I just did that. Okay, motion made by Councilor Boyd, second by Councilor Woods. Any discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
Very briefly, Phil's personally known to all of us, and I certainly want to thank Phil for the amount of time that he has served on the Zoning Board of Adjustment. It's, as I've said before, it's a thankless job. You know, it really is, because you're going to end up ticking off 50% of the people and pleasing the other 50% with whatever decision you choose to make. So I want to thank Phil for the commitment that he made to serving the board with tremendous credibility over the past 8 years, and I look forward to his continued service for the community up in Concord.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstain? 7-0-0.
Opposed.
I just told the town manager I thought it might be more appropriate. Next time someone wants to resign, they should be required to bring a new body in. In
Bingo.
Phil's case, I want on the record, I totally reject his resignation.
You're such a man.
Okay, 6-1-0. The negative is
constitute
Councilor
hostage-taking?
Dwyer. Councilor Dwyer. Okay, recognition of employees for the years of service. Now I'm going to get up here.
First the National Guard, now hostages. Come on.
Truly an honor to be able to honor these people who've put in so many years. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mention the names, call up the Chief Doyle or Chief Curry or whoever it is. They're going to be presenting. I'm just going to give it to them, and they're going to have their little speech. So first, we're going to be doing the Finance, Town Clerk, Collector, and Treasury. Brenda Dulong, who is a 20-year plaque, is not here, but we want to be able to thank her for 20 years of service, and we'll make sure she gets the plaque. Diane Trippett, you've been here 25 years, oh my God. Eileen, come on up.
Hi, Diane. It was kind of awkward because I really didn't know who should make the presentation for Diane, because she doesn't work for me. She works for the public. And before I get into the accomplishments that she's had and the number of years that she's been here, I just wanted to give you my brief impression of since my time here, which has been about 3.5 years. I kind of wondered what kind of, I'd never worked in a town where the town clerk, tax collector was actually elected, and I wondered how that would work, because it's such a detailed job. There are millions of dollars that go through their office, and there are so many regulations and things that are constantly changing, and there are all kinds of interface between obviously the public, but different state agencies. So my impression of Diane has been she's really incredible and really incredibly smart. And one of the things that really strikes me about Diane is, and it carries through to the people that work for her, are that she's all about customer service. It's all about making sure that the public is served and served well and as quickly as possible, even though they seem to all come at the same time. But anyway, so Let me give you a little information about Diane, who has, believe it or not, been here for 25 consecutive years. She started in May of 1989 as a clerk typist in the tax collector town clerk office and worked temporarily there for a year. In August of 1993, when we had a selectman form of government, she was appointed deputy tax collector town clerk. In May of 1995, she was appointed as tax collector town clerk. In 1996 was when the elections started taking place, and she was elected the tax collector town clerk. Diane is a certified municipal clerk through the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. That is quite an accomplishment, and also it's not a necessary accomplishment. This is a 4-year program which requires participants to pass exams in order to attain certification. Diane must go through the recertification process every 5 years in order to retain the title. She is one of only 11 in the entire state of New Hampshire to have been awarded this designation. Diane has served as president of the New Hampshire City and Town Clerks Association and president of the New England Association of City and Town Clerks. She is currently serving as the education chairman on the New Hampshire Tax Collectors Association Executive Board. And Diane, we're so happy that you've been with us for so many years and hope that you're with us for many, many more. Okay.
I just want to thank you very much for this presentation, and I have to thank my family and all of the council members, past and present, and managers and administration. Being the only elected official who's a full-time employee is kind of unique in itself, but I do get a lot of support from the public. Obviously, I would not be here for 25 years if the voters didn't vote me in, so I do appreciate the continued support. I hear from my counterparts a lot of horror stories about the relationships that they have with their governing bodies and their managers. Being an elected official, you can sometimes butt heads, you have differing points of view. I have always been supported by the town of Merrimack, by the administration and the council members and the voters, and I just really want to say thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, now I'm going to have Chief Currier come up to give a 20-year plaque to Brian Borneman and another 20-year plaque for Brian Dubriel.
Well, good evening, and thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, for allowing us this opportunity to recognize the employees for their service to the community. First off, I'd like to look around the room here, and I'd like to thank and congratulate all the other recipients. When you come up first, you don't get to do that until you get to the end, so speaking last works out very well. But congratulations and thank you to your service for the community. Tonight I have two fine gentlemen that have been with the fire department for 20 years. Ironically, they were hired on the same day. So they've been fighting for 20 years who has seniority. We're just going to let it go. We're not going to, we're just going to let it go. Right now, Assistant Chief Borneman, because he's an assistant chief, and Captain Dubriel, because he's a captain, kind of pulls rank, so I guess we have to go that way right at the moment. But we'll see how that comes in the future. Been that way since day one. It's been that way from day one. Okay. So I'd like to say a few things here about these gentlemen, and we're going to step off first with Assistant Chief Borneman, and so you don't have to listen to me go on for 2 or 3 hours. I'm going to let Assistant Chief Borneman talk about Captain Dubriel. But only 2 or 3 hours. We'll be good. It's short. Okay. But Brian was hired July 2nd, 1994, and was assigned to A shift. He was promoted to Master Firefighter in 1999, promoted to Lieutenant in November 2004, and then moved and assigned to B shift. He was promoted to Captain in January 2008, again moved and assigned to D shift. So So as we can see, he's kind of making the rounds throughout the department. July 2013, Brian was promoted to assistant chief. And by making that promotion, he is now responsible for all the shifts. Okay, so he's doing a fantastic job at that. He's a nationally registered emergency medical technician, certified firefighter 3, certified hazardous materials technician, certified fire officer 1 and fire officer 2. He's also certified fire inspector and has many certifications in incident command, including ICS 300, which is a very tough goal to achieve, but required by chief officers in our department. He holds an associate's degree in fire science from New Hampshire Technical College and a bachelor's degree in fire science from Anna Marie College, where he graduated magna cum laude. Brian has been a post commander of our honor guard, does a great job at that, and was in 2010. He was awarded the Class 3 Medal of Valor from the state of New Hampshire. So I want to get into that just a little bit. Captain Borman was the officer in charge of Engine 1 at a structure fire in Bedford, New Hampshire. Captain Borman, along with firefighter Hines, was on the hose line on the Bravo side of the fire building during an exterior operation. While Captain Borman and firefighter Hines were operating the line, Deputy Chief from Bedford, who was conducting a 360, what we do is, as a deputy chief or chief officer, keep going to 360 to determine where the fire is, where it's going, and how we're going to stop it. While that was going on, he was walking across the backyard where he encountered some ice. Well, that ice gave way, and he fell through the ice into the water. Okay. While that occurred, with the quick thinking of Assistant Chief Borneman, he heard him hauling for help. He immediately called for Mayday, which put all resources to at his beckoning call on the fire ground. Assistant Chief Borneman and firefighter Hines immediately headed towards the Deputy Chief in Bedford, who had fallen through the ice, and performed a rescue. And as the Mayday was called, additional firefighters went to the rear of the building and were able to pull Deputy Chief close from the waters that he was entrapped with, okay, saving his life. So that was a level 3 Medal of Honor that was bestowed to Assistant Chief Borman during that heroic rescue, for not only providing his services for the rescue, but taking command of that rescue, using the resources he had available, and coming out with a positive outcome. We still work with Deputy Chief Close in Bedford today. So that there is just honor in itself. From the town of Merrimack for 20 years of service, presented to Brian L. Borneman in recognition of 20 years of service as an employee of the town of Merrimack Fire and Rescue Department. It is a pleasure to present you with this plaque. We wish to extend our sincere appreciation for your outstanding performance and dedicated to duty. July 1st, 1994, July 1st, 2014. Presented on behalf of the Town Council and the Town Manager this 18th day of December, 2014.
I just want to thank the town council, the administration, past and present, like was said before, the citizens of Merrimack for taking a chance on me 20 years ago, and most importantly, the other people within the town that we work with all the time. Merrimack's an incredible place to work. I think all the departments work together very well. It's a unique place to work, and it's a fun place to work. And I'd also like to really thank the rank and file membership of the fire department, because without you, I couldn't do what I do. So thank you very much. Captain Brian Dubriel. As the chief said before, we've kind of come up together. We were hired on the same day, July 2nd, 1994. He was also assigned to A shift. He's promoted to master firefighter in August of 2001, promoted to lieutenant in August of 2006, and assigned back to A shift. Captain Dubriel other than a short time on B shift, has spent almost his entire career on A shift. He's promoted to captain on October 31st of 2010, Halloween, which I find interesting and fitting. As A shift commander, which is a position he currently holds. He's a nationally registered emergency medical technician basic, certified firefighter 3, hazardous material technician, fire officer 1 and 2, and he's also certified ICS 300. He holds an Associates of Applied Science and Business Administration from New Hampshire College, and he's the current commander of the Honor Guard. He has served as vice president of the local, and he's currently serving as the president of ASME 93 and Local 3657. He was the year 2000 VFW Firefighter of the Year, based in part on a rescue he was involved with in 2000, earning him a New Hampshire Class II Medal of Valor. If you will bear with me. From Captain Dubril's personnel file. On January 29, 2000, a building fire was reported at 225 Natticook Road in South Merrimack. Firefighter Brian Dubril responded along with Master Firefighter Wayne Perkins at assigned Engine Company 2. They encountered smoke coming from the home upon arrival. They were met by the homeowner, who advised them that his wife and 2 grandchildren were still in the home. Without hesitation, he entered the structure with Wayne Perkins without the protection of a hose line and without any backup. Proceeded to search for the victims. They immediately located Mrs. Granger and her 7-year-old grandson on the stairs to the living room. While Firefighter Perkins assisted them from the building, Firefighter Dubril continued up the stairs into the home and searched through thick smoke in near zero visibility. He stopped to listen and heard faint coughing coming from the hallway. He crawled down the hallway and located a 5-year-old granddaughter. He carried her from the home to the arriving ambulance. The swift and decisive action demonstrated by Firefighter Brian Dubril under extreme conditions resulted in all 3 people being saved from the fire. His exceptional performance has brought honor to himself, the fire department, and the entire fire service. He is commended for his action at the scene of the fire and congratulated on a job well done. That's from his personnel file, and for that rescue, he was awarded the Class II Medal of Valor for the state of New Hampshire. Just real quick, if I may, like I said, we've come up together, hired the same day, same shift, spent a lot of time together. Our first shift, I learned this later, I was assigned Station 1, he was assigned Station 2. We had a fire that night, which is almost unheard of, first shift out. And all the way from Station 2 up, I can't share everything he said from what I understand. I can't believe, why is he at Station 1? Why is he first night out? So Brian has a great sense of humor and an easygoing way about him, and he always has boundless energy. And since he's become an officer, he's channeled that energy in a constructive manner. He is responsible for all our communication equipment as well as our gas detection devices, which is an almost endless job. He's always one of the first into the fray when things are needed to be accomplished. In his current role as A-Shift Commander, he does a tremendous job for this community and its citizens, and he sets a high standard for himself and the personnel he leads. So congratulations, Brian, on your 20 years.
Years Service Award presented to Brian C. Dubril in recognition for 20 years of service as an employee of the Town of Merrimack Fire and Rescue Department. It is a pleasure to present you with this plaque. We wish to extend our sincere appreciation for your outstanding performance and dedication to duty. July 1st, 1994 to July 1st, 2014. Presented on behalf of the Town Council and the Town Manager this 18th day of December 2014.
Thank you, Chief Borneman. That was a very clean representation of my history with Merrimack Fire. I want to take a moment just to thank the citizens of Merrimack. It's been an honor and privilege to have been able to serve you guys for the last 20 years. I'd also like to reiterate what Chief Borneman said earlier and thank the members of the department. These members give 110% every single day, and coming to work at times can be very difficult based on what we face, but these gentlemen, men and women, are extremely enthusiastic about performing the best they can for the citizens of Merrimack, and it helps me come to work every day, and it's been wonderful for 20 years, so thank you.
I bet that's the first time you got hugged by a chair of town council, right? That's what I can do and you guys can't. Okay, well, well, you could. Okay. Chief Doyle, would you please come up to award Dennis Roy 20-year plaque. Dean Kelly. Oh, Denise. Of course, it's Denise. I apologize. Dean Kelly, 25-year watch, and Peter Albert, 30-year clock.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. I was just doing the quick math, and it should be no surprise to everybody that just a handful of folks that are being recognized tonight account for about 265 years of collective service to the town of Merrimack. So for all of you, my hat goes off to every one of you for all of the hard work that you've done. Lieutenant Roy. Lieutenant Denise Roy currently serves as our department's Criminal Investigation Bureau Commander. She is the leader of our investigative division of 5 detectives. She came to us back in 1991 and was appointed as a special police officer, became a patrolman in 1994, a sergeant in 2007, and a lieutenant in 2008. She also served as a detective, a juvenile officer, and in our legal division as our legal officer, as our prosecutor. Denise is a Merrimack resident, currently serves on the board of directors at the Plus Company, and was also a member of the hiring committee for the Child Advocacy Center. She also served as an investigator for the Attorney General's Drug Task Force, was a member of our department's Honor Guard, co-commander currently of our police department's containment team, worked on our bike squad, is a master's degree candidate at Granite State College in leadership, is a member of the FBI Law Enforcement Executive Development Association in the command training aspect, is a member of the International Association of Chiefs of Police, is a member of the New Hampshire Police Peer Precision Task Force, is currently trained in critical incident management and national incident management system, is currently slated to attend the FBI National Academy in the fall of 2015, and although not a police officer of the year, it is certainly on our list of goals to attain. A little more hard work, maybe you'll just get there. If you'll indulge me for a moment, I just want to read a quick story about Denise's dedication to duty and the diligence that she shows every single day of the week that she comes to work. This is a letter that I received not too long ago from the Chief of Police of Stony Point, New York. And he writes, "I would like to commend the actions of Detective Lieutenant Denise Roy, the Detective Bureau, and the Street Crimes Unit under her direction. She assisted my agency in attempting to locate a suspect wanted in our town for double rape and robbery, which was, in fact, residing here in Merrimack. And when they had tracked the suspect to our jurisdiction, they needed our assistance in apprehending the individual. Your detectives and Street Crimes Unit under her direction went above and beyond their efforts to assist their investigators. The suspect was eventually caught, arrested, charged, and is currently incarcerated and waiting trial. Lieutenant Roy is a credit to your agency and the law enforcement profession, and if there's any way that we can certainly acknowledge that, that would be a benefit to them and their department in Stony Point. On behalf of everybody there in Stony Point, as well as the town of Merrimack, I want to thank you and congratulate you for 20 years of service." 20-year service reward presented to Denise I. Roy in recognition of 20 years of service as an employee of the town of the Merrimack and Merrimack Police Department. It is a pleasure to represent to you and present with you this plaque. We wish to extend our sincere appreciation for your outstanding performance and dedication to duty, January 16th, 1994 to January 16th, 2014, presented on behalf of the Town Council and the Town Manager this 18th day of December, 2014. Congratulations.
Of course I'll say something. I know we're in a hurry. I just want to say, members of the council, Eileen, Paul, thank you very much. 20 years has really gone by very quickly. And it really is, I know that the fire department has said it, but it really is because of the people that we work with. They're really part of our family. Actually, they are family. I spend more time with them than I do with my own family. But thank you, guys. It's all because of you that I've been able to be so successful. Thanks.
Lieutenant Dean Kilkelly. Lieutenant Dean Kilkelly. Currently assigned as a patrol squad commander. Became a special police officer with the Merrimack Police Department way back in 1983. Became a patrolman in 1989. Was promoted to the rank of sergeant in 2007. Became a lieutenant in 2008. Also worked as a detective and as a juvenile officer. He's a Merrimack resident and was a volunteer all through the high school years of his son Robert as a member of the MHS robotics team. Had been serving as a member of the Honor Guard, was one of our founding members. Currently commander of our accident investigation and reconstruction team. Was our police officer of the year in 1993. Is a member of the FBI Law Enforcement Executive Development Association. Is trained as a police prosecutor, has attended the Supervisors Leadership Institute, has attended the Supervisors Academy, is trained in critical incident management and National Incident Management System, is a trained homicide investigator, and was one of our very first field training officers when we actually started having people go through that program many years ago. I want to read you a quick synopsis of some incident that Dean was involved in back a little while ago, and I think it shows not only his dedication to duty, but his quick action, which eventually potentially saved the life of an individual who was suffering from some life-threatening condition. On 28 July 1996, then Officer Dean Kilkelly was on routine patrol on Route 3 in Merrimack. Officer Kilkelly observed the vehicle parked near the roadside. He went to that car and observed the female on her side in the front seat. Officer Kilkelly called for medical assistance. It was 5 o'clock in the morning, and he was able to gain entry to the car on his own. Officer Kilkelly found the female unresponsive. The victim had an asthmatic inhaler in her hand, and Officer Kilkelly administered the contents of the inhaler, and the female began to revive and regain full consciousness, bringing her back potentially life-threatening condition. Dean, on behalf of everybody, and certainly I'm sure on behalf of the members of the council, Chairwoman Harrington and Town Manager Eileen Cavanell, and the members of the police department assured, as well as the members of the town here tonight, thank you for all that you've done and for the 25 years of service that you've committed to the Merrimack Police Department and to the citizens of Merrimack. Thank you,
Chief. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the council, town manager, Paul, my wife and son, Robert. Thank you for the years of the sacrifices, holidays, nights, weekends, anniversary. My father who's out there, my mother who's home, better be watching. Thank you for your support. My brothers and sisters on the police department, your support over the years. We couldn't have done it without you. My brothers and sisters on the fire force here, we're a team. We keep this town safe. Adam, you and your team at the highway department, we all work together to keep Merrimack running smooth as it is and everybody safe. I'd like to thank you for your support over the years. and I'll see you in another 5 years.
This is a big watch.
Captain Albert. Members of the council, Chairwoman Harrington, Town Manager Cabanel, Assistant Town Manager McCallie, I introduce you to Captain Peter Albert, here to be recognized for 30 years of dedicated service to the town of Merrimack with the Merrimack Police Department. You can step a little closer.
Was very little.
Nice.
Currently, Peter is the commander of our Patrol Operations Division. He became a patrolman back in 1984, promoted to the rank of sergeant in 1994, promoted to the rank of lieutenant in 1998, promoted to the rank of captain in 2007, served in our department in many capacities. First as the detective lieutenant, administrative support services division commander, and was our prosecutor legal officer for a number of years. Peter is a Merrimack resident and a longtime volunteer for the Merrimack Youth Association, amongst other activities associated with the town of Merrimack. He was a police officer of the year in 1991, currently oversees not only the entire operations of the department, but our containment team, was a member of our bicycle patrol and a founding member of our bicycle patrol. And there's a not too flattering photo out there somewhere of him in some bright blue shorts on a bicycle.
There's a few unflattering photos.
Peter's also a graduate of the Babson College New England Institute of Law Enforcement Management, a member of the FBI Law Enforcement Executive Development Association, receiving his bachelor's degree very shortly from Granite State College in the spring, is FEMA trained in critical incident response and national incident management system, a trained homicide investigator, a trained narcotics investigator, and a trained evidence technician. Pete has served in a number of capacities, and I also want to take just a moment to relate to you a story of something that Peter was involved in way, way back, which kind of like goes toward not only his attention to detail, but his perseverance when it comes to conducting investigations. This happened way, way back when he was just a patrolman. Dated 12 January 1989. Detective Peter Albert, while on paid detail at Society Hill, interrupted a burglary in progress. Detective Albert apprehended 2 suspects by himself without any backup and assisted in the capture of a third. This is the second time that Detective Albert stopped a burglary in progress at that location. This is when the Society Hill condominium complex was actually being built and constructed. A total of 5 suspects have been arrested in these burglaries due to Captain Albert's dedication and attention to detail and his perseverance in these investigations. It was at that point, in Lieutenant Westholm's opinion, that Detective Albert should be commended for excellent police work both last evening, the night that this occurred, and the time that it occurred the year prior. Detective Albert exhibits the type of aggressiveness and professionalism we all strive to obtain. Detective Albert represents the caliber of police officer that we here in Merrimack, and the one that citizens of Merrimack should be and are proud to call one of their own. Peter, on behalf of everybody here in the room, and as well as all the citizens of Merrimack and the members of the council, I will let Councilor Harrington, Chairwoman Harrington, present you with the clock.
Can I hug you with it?
Thank you very much. It's been 30 years. Goes by fast, as a few of my fellow workers in town here have said, and it's been my honor to serve the town of Merrimack, and it continues to be. I'm very lucky in one aspect because I've had, in 30 years, I've had great people that I've worked for and worked with. I've had great mentors, leaders that have helped me along the way, helped me to get where I am, and people that I continue to work with. And for that, I'm very thankful. I want to say thank you to the fellow town employees here who we've recognized, and say thank you to the town council, the town manager and chief. And I also just want to say a special thank you, one, to my children. As Dean pointed out, we spend some time away from you guys when most dads are there, and for your patience, I want to say thank you. And lastly, I want to say thank you to my lovely wife, Kathy, whose love and support helps me do what I do every day. So, thank you.
Mr. Rick Seymour, come on up. Come on up. For Public Works, Philip Machino, 30 years. Ernest Doucette, who is not here this evening, but will be receiving a 20-year plaque. Robert Loverling Jr., 25 years. Stephen Dumas, 25 years. And Robert McGrath, 25 years, who will also not be here tonight, but we'll make sure he gets our thank yous. So, Rick. Thank you. I'll make sure he gets to
Phil, I don't see you. There he is.
How could you miss him?
Just so nicely dressed. Thank you. Okay, that's it. I'm not going there. Madam Chairman, members of the council, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor today to talk about Phil Machino. I've known Phil for the last 6 years out of his 30 years of tenure as a custodian of buildings and grounds and a foreman for the town of Merrimack. I've come to realize that Phil is one of the most dedicated and hardworking employees here. Phil's flexible, funny, and very interesting person to work with. Phil is well known for tackling any red flags that come along his way like a bulldog. That's an inside joke, anyways.
Very good job.
Thank you. Phil starts his day by going to the Merrimack Y in order to, as he says, limber up and strengthen himself for his physical day ahead at the town offices. In fact, if you're at the Y at 5 o'clock in the morning, Phil's usually there holding the door open for the YMCA employees that never get there on time, so he opens the door for them. I think that everyone that works in the town hall complex or the police department or the senior center appreciates Phil's high level of service. Whether he's getting someone's ice-cold heating system to start, or salting the treacherous icy walkways, or fixing a stubborn door lock, or just keeping the grounds as beautiful as possible, all of us continue to benefit from his employment with the town. Phil's also a very dedicated town resident. In fact, in lieu of being given a clock by the town tonight, Phil has asked that the money that the town would spend on the clock instead go to a local church food pantry. On occasion, I'll ask Phil if he ever thinks of retiring, and he says, "I'm too young for that." Thank you, Phil, for your 30 years of service, and I wish you many more. Congratulations. Also, in lieu of a clock, we have another recognition, if I can grab it from behind.
Oh, it's a surprise one.
We have a special inside joke. This is for you, Phil. More red flags to deal with. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much, members of the town council and the town administration. It's been 30 years, and it's been a good 30 years. I've enjoyed working here. I've got to work with many solid town employees, very exceptional people. I got to work under many fine town managers and many notable town managers. One notable town manager in particular used to bring his dog to work after every day. So him and his dog would go around the grounds and walk around and do their thing. And after they were done doing their thing, they'd go in. So this went on and on and on for many days, and I decided that something had to be done about it. So after a relentless pursuit and about 100 red flags, I was able to get him to clean up his act with his dog. And since then, we haven't had any more problems. 30 years is a long time, like I said, and I intend to stay for another 10 at least. Unless some future town manager comes to work with the St. Bernard, then I'm out of here.
Oh, I've been told that Adam Jacobs is coming up to do the remaining or next? Just the next. Go ahead, Adam.
Okay, I'm here to recognize Bob Lovering. Bob, come on up. It's my pleasure to recognize Bob for 25 years of service on behalf of Madam Chairwoman, Town Council, Town Manager, and Director Rick Seymour, and the rest of the employees in Public Works. Bob is our 25-year employee tonight. He started in 1989, but the story begins long before then, when somebody impressed upon little Bobby Lovering the importance of a good, firm handshake. If you hadn't had the pleasure of shaking Bob's hand, I highly suggest it. My mind is still ringing. The longer he knows you, the softer the handshake gets, but that first one will really get you. So thanks to that good, firm handshake and a lot of hard work, Bob was able to move up through the ranks and become our Senior Equipment Operator 3 at the Highway Division. He operates every piece of equipment that we have, most notably our motor grader, which is very difficult machinery to operate. He grades all of our 24 gravel roads in town. Bob is a very dedicated employee. He's always there to answer the call whenever needed, whether it be emergency operations such as the storm we had the night before Thanksgiving a couple weeks back. I think Bob cleared at least 12 different trees that were down across the road with our bucket loader. Was able to get traffic through and emergency services through in a time of need. Back in Snowtober in 2011, Bob was also one of a few employees that volunteered to stay after about 36 hours or so when the rest of us... 48 and a half, right?
Yeah, I was counting.
But he volunteered to stay and answer the call if they came in at night. Everybody else was ready to drop dead. So he caught a few winks, but he did have a few calls that night, throughout the night, to go help ambulances through. It was a really bad storm, if you might remember. So he's there to answer the call for emergencies, but also for community service. He and his wife, Kathy, are highly involved in community theater in Nashua with children's theater there. So check that out if you have a chance. And extremely dedicated. I didn't realize it was his wife's birthday today, so he's here tonight. She's at her birthday party, so I'm gonna I'm gonna wrap this up real quick so we can get back to her. Bob's our resident trainer for CDL licensing, commercial driver's license. He helps members of the Public Works Department who don't yet have their commercial license get theirs, as well as members of the fire department, I think, have been helped by Bob. He's also a Master Road Scholar through the University of New Hampshire Technical Transfer Center, their highest level of Road Scholar in their training program that they have there. And I'd just like to thank Bob and thank your wife, Kathy, and your daughters, Emily and Madeline, for all the nights and holidays and weekends that you've been with us to help out whenever the call came in. So thanks again, Bob.
Steve Dumas. Where's Steve? There he is. Nice sweater. Nice sweater. Okay. Goodbye. Okay. It's my pleasure tonight to talk about Steve Dumas. Steve's been with the town of Merrimack for 25 years. It's been my pleasure to work with Steve over 6 of these years. Steve's an enthusiastic team player who is very dedicated to the daily operations of the transfer station. His attention to detail and process management is extraordinary. Steve has changed and adapted operation many times over the years to promote greater efficiency with the limited number of crew members. Steve managed both the winter dump and both phases of the main landfill operations and closures. He successfully transitioned the old segregated recycling system into the new single-stream recycling system. In fact, if you saw the latest Public Works video on recycling, you noticed Steve as our Vanna White lookalike sifting through the residents' trash. Sorry, Steve. That's okay. Steve managed the installation setup of our new swap shop for usable, discarded items. And so remember, you only have 5 shopping days left till Christmas, so stop on by. Steve's also changed the management of brush and yard waste to make it more efficient and user-friendly. And Steve recently installed new video surveillance cameras in the transfer station to enhance facility security. Steve's sense of humor is evident on a daily basis and is necessary to cope with the breakneck speed of disposal at the recycling and the transfer station centers, especially on Saturdays. Without a sense of humor, Steve would not have lasted as long as he has. I'm always sure that his mastery of the operations of the transfer station ensures that this operation is in good hands. To Steve, I say with conviction, job well done. Huzzah to you, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you very much to the council, town manager, and all my other fellow co-workers. 25 years, it's like Phil said, it's been a while, so, but I've enjoyed everything I've done so far and continue to keep going and keep the trash moving.
Just to close out this section, first of all, I want to congratulate all those recipients of those many years of service. But I also want to make a comment as a citizen of Merrimack. What makes this town tick are you guys, not us. We know that. You make us look good. But you do the work. And as a citizen, not as a town councilor, I want to thank you. Thank you. Now, I know you all want to stay for the rest of the meeting, right? All right, the Exodus, here we have it. We're going to do a 5-minute recess to be able to allow for movement. I'd like to call this meeting back to order, please. Next on our agenda is appointments. Annual review with the Town Center Committee. Per Town of Merrimack Charter Section 6-6, at least annually, there should be an annual review with the Town Center Committee. This agenda is to highlight the committee's significant actions, current projects, anticipated actions, and to raise any concerns the council should know or act. And we have Chairman Nelson Disco. Good evening, Nelson.
Good evening, Chairman, Chairwoman.
Nancy.
Nancy, and the members of the council. Thank you for this opportunity to bring you folks up to speed on what we've done for the past year. And to remind you that we are there working quietly toward improving our town center. Our town center committee, for those who, let me just, he was going to turn off the lights to make this more visible, but I think you all have a copy
Yes, we
back
do.
there anyway, a hard copy of this. This is our charge. It was given to the town council, to the town center committee, and in 2009. And basically, it's summarized here, mostly for the benefit of those who might not be familiar with our activities and why we were formed. But basically, we've been put together to implement the recommendations that were made in an ITRAC study that was done for the town, looking at the town center and seeing what could be done to improve it and make it more of a town center. So the things that they recommended were some sidewalks, some trails, and things like that in the town center area. The town center area, as defined for this study, was the land between Fraser Square and Front Street, along Route 3 and east of the Effie Everett Turnpike. So that was for the purpose of this study called the town center. And we've been working to implement those recommendations slowly as we can. We have no funding, but we work on ways of implementing funding through other means as best we can. Our committee consists of 9 members. I'm sorry, would you? Oh, I thought somebody wanted to ask a question. Please, if you want to, if anybody has a question, go for it. I have no problem with interruptions. The present committee consists of 9 members per our charter. I am presently the chairman, and I'm also the representative of the planning board to this committee. Peter Flood, our vice chairman, is here tonight, along with his wife Jackie, who serves as our secretary. And Jackie represents the Watson Park Committee. Chris Ortega is presently the representative from the SAU, the school. However, he is about to be replaced by Davis Powell. And Chris joined our group this past year, replacing Tracy Bull, who had been a member for a couple of years prior to that. Karen Freed is representing the library trustees. She replaced Pat McGrath this year on the committee, and so she's been with us. Mary Hendricks represents the Chamber of Commerce, and Deborah Huffman, people at large and the town at large, a very helpful member of our committee, as she's here this evening. Bill Wilkes is a member at large of the committee, and Finley is the town council representative to our committee. We meet monthly, as I mentioned, once a month, and we meet in this room, usually during the day. We are assisted by Lelia Mellon, who is an advisor from the National Park Service. She has been with us for 2 years, and this is her 3rd and final year. This is a service provided by National Parks to help us, and she's been especially helpful with trails. And I'll talk a little bit about what we've done with trails this year, but having the National Park Service input, and they've made some financial contributions as well. Kyle Fox is our local advisor from the DPW, and he's been very good with engineering advice and technical advice as to things that we are trying to implement on the committee. I think Kyle is here.
Yep, he is.
Oh, he's still back there. Good. Okay. For this year, our main focus has been on 2 main items of the recommendations from the ITRAC report. One of these is the Safe Routes to School study, which was done, and the other being the Souhegan River Trail, improvements to the Souhegan River Trail. And I'll talk a little bit about those in a minute, but first of all, for Safe Routes to School, there was considerable work done in the past couple of years with a survey and a study that was completed by the NRPC for the middle school and high school area here, which is part of the town center. And there was a committee formed, and they received a lot of input from parents and the school administration and teachers. And it was very favorably received. I think the takeaway from that study was, gee, we would do more if we could get there safely. The encouragement for walking is spreading nationwide, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but it's local here, and people really would walk to school more or bicycle to school more if they could get there more safely. And so that's one of the things that came out of that study. There was a federally backed funding which was supported by the state called the Safe Routes to School program for 2 years. And this year, in 2014, the funding was cut short at the state level and at the federal level and it was combined. The Safe Routes to School was combined with a couple of other programs and consolidated into what's now called the Transportation Alternative Program, or TAP for short. And this is administered in New Hampshire by the Department of Transportation. The funding requests, they put out bids for, or let me say, advertise for people to bid on money to assist the towns in the state. They had received at the end of their bidding period about $30 million worth of requests from all over the state of New Hampshire. And they are funded at the level of $5 million. The SAU is considering an application into this funding in 2015. They did not put something together this year, but they plan to do that next year. However, we have an application in there that I'll talk about in a minute. The Sauhegan River Trail is our next big focus, and this trail is a hiking trail that extends from Watson Park. When it's finished, it will extend from Watson Park to Wildcat Falls along the Sauhegan River. And it'll go via an old sluiceway under Route 3, which is a walkable pathway through there, and all the way along the Sauhegan River. It'll connect with the footbridge that was constructed across the Sauhegan River at the time the Merrill's Marauders Bridge was built on the Effie Everett Turnpike, rebuilt, I should say, on the Effie Everett Turnpike, and then continue on to Wildcat Falls. So it would make a nice walking trail between Watson Park and Wildcat Falls along the river. And we've made some progress there this year. We've, first of all, we had to get easements from the school. The school district owns most of the land. There's a little bit of it that's owned by the town of Merrimack. Some of you may have been present when we bought a piece of land in there using Conservation Commission funds. And so that we now have the right-of-way complete. We were donated the right-of-way under the sluiceway, through the sluiceway by the Pennachuck Corporation that wound up owning it. And that was done a couple of years ago. So we now have ownership of all the property. And the school board approved the easement in November of 2013. The bridge during this past year, a little wooden footbridge was constructed by an Eagle Scout, James Jolly, whom I think came to you for permission to do that. It's a small, seasonal waterway. It's not really wet land. It's just a drainage area that had to be bridged, and that was done. Along with that, this year, portions of the trail were relocated to get them away from the very edge of the river. In some cases, they were hazardously close to the river itself, and it was decided to bring that back up with the help again of the National Park Service and volunteers, mostly working with James Jolly. Subsequent to that, trail markers were placed along that section of trail, and it connects up to the school. The school cross-country team has actually utilized some of that trail this year as part of their training, the training route. So the portions have been used by the cross-country team, and there is we are making a plan for, we have a design for a sign to be put on the footbridge that crosses the Sauhegan River, which will identify the Merrill's Marauders Bridge. We've gotten some help from the Merrill's Marauders Society and that, and they have some pictures of Merrill and his men in Burma or wherever they were during the war, and it'll be a good memorial to him when that gets done. So what we're missing, the big piece that's missing in this trail, is the connection from the sluiceway to the school district land. In other words, now as you're all aware, the town has a safety issue on the east side of Route 3 at the Chamberlain Bridge with the sidewalk. It's actually collapsed through there, and it has been in the capital plan for some time, and I believe it's on the plan for next year to rebuild that section of sidewalk. In conjunction with using that as a stepping stone, if you will, we have applied for some ATC, Advanced Transportation Plan funds, to build the other piece on the west side of a piece of trail on the west side of the Chamberlain Bridge that will connect over to the school district land. There's some heavy work involved there. There's some concrete that has to be removed and a bit of land work and filling that has to be done to make that a safe walking trail. So what we've done is, with Kyle's help, Kyle Fox again has put together an application for TAP funds for which the application was submitted in September. Leveraging for the town's part, we're using the east side commitment that the town has made as the town's contribution, because there has to be town contribution for all of these TAP funds. So using that, we would be able to leverage and get funding to do the rest of it and make that connection. We expect the results of that evaluation of our application, along with all the other applications that have been received, by the end of January in 2015. We're hopeful, but given the odds, it's maybe we're hoping too much. I don't know. I can't predict. We would hope that we could get in on that. If not, we'll have to find some other ways of funding this. And toward that end, we did do a little bit of survey work down there. In order to do this work, we have to get a permission from the state to work in the shoreland of the Sauhegan River. We're right close to the edge of the Sauhegan River, and we need their permission. And we need a permit from them. And to this end, we needed a topographic survey or some technical survey of the existing conditions on the ground before we can design an alternative and tell the DES what it is we want to do. Keach Nordstrom stepped forth for this. Steve Keach, you all know, he volunteered to work with us at his cost. We received a $1,000 grant from the National Park Service toward this, and a Merrimack citizen stepped forward and gave us $500 toward this project. And that made up the money that we needed. We needed $1,450, and we raised $1,500, and that allowed Keach Nordstrom's crews to go in there and do the work, and that survey is complete, and the data is in the hands of Kyle Fox now when the time comes to make that application. We have, as a result of the coming in a little bit under, $50 under, and there was a little bit of money left over from James Jolly's work on the bridge, because he had a fundraiser, and he donated that land, and we've established a little reserve account of $327, which will probably go toward signage or some other little element in there. So that's where that stands at the moment. That's really where we are, what we've done to date this year. The next slide talks to our recommendations last year, which is presently on hold. This was the recommendation to build the sidewalk to Wire Road. That's basically on hold pending the Wire Road Route 3 intersection improvements. And we have made that recommendation last year, and I just put it out here as something to be considered in the future capital planning. For 2015, we're hoping to be able to implement the Sauhegan River Trail through the TAP grant. If not, we'll have to seek other sources of funding, and I won't speculate right now on what they might be, but certainly the TAP would be a wonderful way to do it, helpful to the town. We're continuing to support the school in their application for TAP funds and seek some kind of safety improvements over there to improve the safe routes to school routing so that people can take more advantage of that. And one of our goals next year is to increase public awareness of what we're doing. Every time we come forth, we get a lot of support from the people we talk to. I mean, $500 just appeared over the transom because of just knowing about it, and people are excited about it in town. So I think if we increase our public awareness and public visibility through perhaps, we've talked about some activities at Watson Park that we can tie in with them. We're talking about tying together with some of the work that the Parks and Rec is doing now, and maybe having more booths, more visible presence in the community, that we can get more community support behind this. So that, I think, our recommendations for the year. Just one thing I'd mention, it hasn't really affected what we're doing here immediately, but there is a recommendation in the master plan that was adopted by the planning board to establish a capital reserve fund for sidewalks, and we recommend that be done. I suggest that you become aware of the walkable communities movement that seems to be catching on in planning circles around this state and around the country, in fact, where walkability of a downtown is really an issue that makes a big difference, and it makes an economic benefit, and it makes an aesthetic and visual benefit. So, and also we've been getting some assistance through this group called HEAL New Hampshire, which is Healthy Eating and Living. And that's a group that's been funded and has been offering support in terms of training, in terms of education. And several of us have attended some of their workshops. They've put on free workshops for us. And so I'd suggest if you see some of those and you want to take part, it would be great. And if not, at least be aware of what they're doing and what they're thinking about in long term for improving health and health in general in the state of New Hampshire. So that's my quick overview. I'm happy to answer any questions, and we hope that this is something that's in the direction that the council wants to go. We're trying to follow the guidelines of the original recommendations that were given to us in the charge that was given to us. So, okay.
You mentioned a grant that was available, and you said there was a match. What's the match on that grant?
I'm not sure the ratio. I know we met it clearly. Is it 20% of the town? Maybe Kyle knows. 20%? Okay, yes, 20% town money, 80% grant. And we're well within that. If we can apply the monies that have been allocated to do that east side work, we'll be well over 20%. It'd probably be more like 40% that we're actually putting in.
And does that grant application use a scoring system?
Yes, it does. There are several scoring systems.
Yeah,
Maybe
Kyle, come on up.
Kyle can help me out with that.
Yeah, the process is being run through the DOT's Decision Lens software that they've started using in the past few years, which the goal of the software is to take the political and preferred, emotional side of project choice out of the system and make it more a merit-based process. So much like the 10-year plan is being run through the Decision Lens software, so is all the TAP application projects. And it's a two-step process for all the projects within each regional planning commission. For us, it's NRPC. So NRPC scored all of the projects from our region. That scoring is used as part of the DOT's scoring. It's only 6%, so it doesn't count for a heck of a lot, but that's in there. So that scoring is part of it, and in the end, DOT will make the decision based on the software. And what the software does is it looks at all the numerical categories, but it also looks at all the different funding sources, and it kind of best fits as many projects as possible to the funding that's available. And where that's important, in the past, from the past census, the most recent census, the Nashua area became an MPO, a metropolitan planning organization or zone, because we're now over 200,000 in population. So the NRPC has jurisdiction over a certain amount of funds just themselves. So some funds are guaranteed for the Nashua region. As part of that, though, Derry and Auburn are included in that. I think Pelham as well, which are not normally NRPC communities, but as part of the greater MPO, they're included in those funds. So some of the funds are guaranteed to come to this MPO area, and then there's other dedicated funds from the statewide program that we're in competition for.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Tom?
So you haven't mentioned how much you've applied for in the grant. Are we talking, assuming there's a possibility you might not get it, what would be your shortfall for this
Turn
project?
to my technical support.
What's your wish list?
The criteria for funding, for filing for the application was the project had to be minimum of $200,000, maximum of $800,000. I'm sorry I wasn't prepared for this question, but I believe our application was in the $550,000 range.
That's
for
what I remember.
For both phases. We just had CIP the other night, and I don't recall the figure for the east side work that we have in the CIP, but I think it was in the $200,000 range, 180 to 200.
That's my recollection as well. It's about about $350 additional money that we're looking for to make that complete.
That being said, we've requested, part of the application, you have to request how much federal aid you're looking for, and we obviously asked for the full 80%.
Oh.
So, should we be selected, the town would actually save money on the east side project. We would just pay the 20% of the total if we were selected.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Carl. Yeah.
Oh, maybe you shouldn't sit down, Kyle. You might be called up again. Any other questions? No? Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
That potential is very exciting.
It is. It's
Let's
very
keep our
exciting.
fingers crossed. And
Yeah.
Kyle, you do a great job with grants, I'll tell you.
Well, I have a lot of help.
He is, yeah, he's lucky with him too. So let's hold it. Let's hope that it holds out.
Yeah.
Maybe he's got his finger on that software. No. Thank you very much,
Okay,
Nelson.
thank you.
That's fine with me. Yeah, that's good. Okay, public hearing, there is none. Legislative updates from state reps. Nope, they're too busy. Oh, they're busy up there. Yeah. Well, they will be busy, let's put it that way. Town managers report. Eileen. Yeah.
Okay, the Nashua Regional Planning, Nashua Regional Solid Waste Management District Household Hazardous Waste Program has completed collections for this year. There were 5 collection events held in the Nashua Highway Garage, and one of the events was held in Milford. 206 Merrimack households took advantage of this program, and Merrimack disposed of 10,800 pounds of hazardous waste this year. 6 more collection events are proposed for the next year. The next event is scheduled for April 18th, 2015 in Nashua. For additional information, call the Merrimack Solid Waste Division at 424-2604. In library news, if you have received an e-reader, tablet, or smartphone for the holidays but need some guidance about how to use it, the library will be holding a technology drop-in session on Monday, December 29th from 7 to 8 p.m. for anyone who would like some help from the librarians on learning how to navigate it. Let us introduce you to the downloadable music and ebooks. If you can't make that session, call the library to set up a 30-minute appointment during business hours. That's a very nice service.
That's a good idea.
The annual holiday parade and tree lighting service was held on Sunday, December 7th. Despite the chilly temperatures, the parade was well attended, and we had more than 400 people in attendance at the tree lighting ceremony. This is an announcement of something that I think that I wanted to bring to your attention. As you know, as part of the agreement with the MYA, the council has and the MYA have signed an agreement in order to have the financial records of the MYA become available. The MYA has not yet provided their audited financial statements in accordance with their contract. And in part, the contract stipulates that for each fiscal year, the following October 31st, the audited financial statements need to be prepared on a certain financial basis by a certified public accountant. And as I said, that has not occurred yet.
Question, Eileen. So it was due on, when are we supposed to get a report?
You were the year ended on June 30th, 2013, and we were supposed to get it by October 31st, 14, and you were supposed to get it by October 31st, 2014.
Now have people that be Paul or yourself been in contact with MYA about the delay?
Paul has, and I'll let him speak to that.
I reached out to the president of the MYA in mid-November, mid to late November, and I was informed that an audit would be forthcoming shortly. I yesterday reached out to their auditing CPA firm because they need some information from the town. I sent them that information and I asked when I would possibly see the report, and he informed me that he doesn't see it in the near future. So I haven't reached back out to the MYA to say, when are we gonna receive the, when are we gonna receive the report, but,
So the process by which you'd have to get the report, that process hasn't even been completed.
Correct.
Now, as a result of that, what's our agreement? They get the report and then there's a payment? What are the specifics on that? What's our agreement?
It doesn't specifically talk about payments. In the last go-around that we had before this happened and the audit wasn't available, you withheld, until you got the report, you withheld the quarterly payment, which the next one would be due on January 2nd. The document itself says that if the MYA does not fulfill the obligations of the agreement, that the town shall submit to the MYA a written notice of such unsatisfactory performance or default. And if the MYA fails or refuses to remedy said unsatisfactory performance or default within 30 calendar days of receipt of the town's notice, the town may declare the agreement to be immediately terminated. And that's what the document says.
The previous. Okay, I've got my questions. Any other members have questions? Yes, Bill?
Through you, Madam Chair, to the town manager. So if the town council decides not to do anything tonight, you're going to cut a check to the MYA on January 2nd. Is that correct?
Yes, because I don't have the authority not to.
Right. My follow-up question is, what is the quarter? I did not have the contract in front. What is the quarterly payment that we're due to pay the MYA?
I believe it's $11.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure of the council. Any opinions? Any actions?
Yeah, I move that we notify them that they're in non-compliance. We're past October 31st. We notify them of non-compliance and inform them of what the penalty will be. We're going to withhold the payment.
Seconded.
Okay, motion made by Tom Mahan, seconded by Bill Boyd. Discussion on the motion? Ready for a vote? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any against? Okay. Any abstention? No. 7-0-0. Okay, you got your marching orders, I guess. Anything else, Eileen? Okay, with the pleasure of the council, I would like to request if we can move the Eagle Scout project presentation, which is under new business, to now. You may or may not have homework, but we don't want to put anything in front of you. So if that's okay with the council?
Yep.
Okay, Ian, come on up. Life Scout Ian Finken seeks council approval of his proposed Eagle Scout project, which entails installing 8 new navigational signs throughout Wasserman Park. The Parks and Recreation Committee is recommending this project for approval. And look at that. I always enjoy these, so I'm going to sit back and enjoy it.
Figured how to best do this. See up there, you want to be able to tilt it?
But then we can't
Turn a
see
little
it.
bit this way, Bill. I think. Sorry. I'm not going to catch. No.
Maybe he's gonna try.
Alright, there we go. Alright. Hello, my name is Ian Finken. I'm 17. I'm from Troop 401 and I'm a Life Scout. I'm not sure if you have received any of my documents I've sent through. You all have copies. If not, I have copies. Everybody has copies?
We have this paper, is that what you're talking about?
I have more physical.
No, we haven't.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Pass them out. There you go, just come right up.
You just hand them.
That's fine. We'll share. Okay, we're ready.
Hi, I am here to get my Eagle Scout project approved by the town council. So far, I've already gone to the Parks and Rec Board back in November to get their approval, and I have gotten their approval. And so far, along the way, the Parks and Rec Department have been very helpful and very generous with their time. Matt Gasparius, the Parks and Rec Director, has been very helpful along the way. He's helped me whenever I needed a meeting or such impromptu. And so, thank you. To start off, I'd like to point out that my project will be fully fundraised, and all the money that I make will be going towards the project. It would be no cost to the town. I have my 2 exhibits here and here. This one is a 3D model in a generality of what I hope the signs to look like, and then that is my trifold with more visuals of where I would like to put them inside the park. For my Wasserman sign project, I am doing this because I, as a camper there in my early years, it was very hard to, if you didn't already know where things were within the park, to find the different buildings and locations. And even going to it now, for residents and non-residents that go there yearly, to just know where the different areas are in the park, due to the I wouldn't say lack of signage, but just not enough there. I will be adding 3 main signs near the entrance and exit, and 1 farther down past the Parks and Rec office. These will be the main signs that will give the most general directions to where the different buildings and different places are throughout the camp. That's on exhibits A and B. Give the physical layout of the park and what each sign is going to have on it. I will have 4 smaller signs that will be going down the trails leading down from the non-visitors parking lot to the athletic field, and then from the athletic field to the down to the beachfront area, because I know that at least the non-visitors trail is a little bit newer and such, so people don't always know that those trails are get down there to get down all the way down to the beachfront instead of having to go all the way down the road. So I think visitors going there will find that a lot more helpful, especially during the camp times. I will be having the signs themselves will be the 3 main ones. I'll be making them 10 feet, but with 2 feet in the ground, so it'll be 8 foot standing above. The ones that are there now are 6 feet above ground, and we thought those were just a little short. So the 4 smaller ones will be a 6 foot above ground with 2 feet under. I'll be making the posts that are pressure treated, so they'll stand the last length of time, and then the individual boards at a pine, and then I'll be making the signs to look like how they are now, and how other ones are throughout the town. The original brown and the yellow painting, and the font will stay the same because there's a standard font. It's called National Park font that's used.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
It's that special slant that's used, which is throughout all the different parks and such. So far, it'll be the 7 signs that will be in total, but my sign number 3 will be replacing one that is by the exit. That one is in little bit of disrepair right now, so it'll be look good to get a new face in there. My ideas for fundraising is I will be doing a soup and salad to raise at approximate $400 for the overall total of the cost. I have on Exhibit C the price list. The $400 is pretty close to the 401 that I have on there.
Yep.
I don't think there's anything else I have, so I'd like to thank the town council for listening to me tonight, and I hope to acquire your approval.
Thank you. Okay, I have a question. What's the soup and salad? Is that?
I'm going to be holding.
Might as well advertise for it while you're here.
Yeah, I'm going to be. I want to plan on holding a soup and salad fundraiser at St. James to raise the money for my project. Since it's in the middle of winter, I'm not necessarily going to have an outdoor picnic barbecue. So I would go with a diverse soup and salad bar for people to come in during the wintertime and get a hot meal. So I thought that was a pretty keen idea.
It is a good idea. I would just recommend if we approve this, let us know the date so we can make a little comment to advertise for you.
I will. I can send an email to Matt.
Perfect. Okay, questions? Yes, Tom?
Thank you, Ian. What's your timing for this project? Do you expect to get it started, completed, or finished when?
I still have yet to go to the Eagle Board, but hopefully I can get in a slot in there within January or February. I hope to start the project at least before April, so then at least because there are posts, I need to at least wait till the ground thaws to get them implanted.
And how do you expect to do this? Your fellow scouts going to be helping, or are you doing all the digging, or?
Yeah, probably for the when we go to physically put them in at the park, I'll have some scout help. But due to BSA regulations and stuff, using power tools and such, they won't be able to help necessarily with the construction of the sign. But I'll hopefully be able to have them put in some time with the fundraising.
Okay, good.
Making the soup. Yes, Bill.
No soup, I can see it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ian, you have an impeccable sense of timing. The Parks and Rec Director is here to talk about Wasserman Park and some of the ideas that he's presenting to us on some funding that the council granted to him. So I want to commend you for wanting to improve the quality of life that we have down at Wasserman Park. So thank you. My only question is you don't elaborate, but who or how are you going to carve into the wood to be able to create the letters? I'm just curious, are you paying somebody to do that, or are you doing that yourself?
We should be doing it ourselves. We found a template that we can use to router in into the boards when we're doing the construction.
That's it. Template and carve. Pretty cool.
The ones that are there originally were they look hand done, but those were done with a template also. But the original person didn't use power tools; they just did a hand chisel.
Okay.
So that's why they are in the same font.
Okay. Nice. Good deal. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Anyone else? Yes, Lon?
Ian, I appreciate your enthusiasm and your presentation. I've had occasion to attempt digging holes in the ground in New England, specifically in the Merrimack area and specifically around the Nanticoke Road area. 4 feet is a long way down. 2 feet. 2 feet is bad enough. I think he said the taller signs you wanted to make me go down 4 feet.
It was going to be for the tallest ones that are going to be 10 feet. I want to have them 8 feet above ground, so 2 feet in the ground.
Oh, 2 feet. Okay. Just be prepared.
Yeah, you'll find every rock.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I would move that the Town Council approve the proposed Eagle Scout project of Ian Finken, which entails installing 8 new navigational signs throughout Wasserman Park.
Okay, motion made by Councilor Boyd, second. Is that Dan or, yeah. Okay, seconded by Councilor Dwyer. Any further discussion or questions? No? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? None? Okay, no abstentions. 7-0-0. Thank you very much, Ian. You're all set.
Thank
Good
you.
luck. Thank
Go
you.
for it.
Have fun.
Thank you. And have a good night.
Yep.
Remember to let us know the date, okay?
And to the Scoutmasters, thank you for what you do. Thanks for coming out tonight. Appreciate it.
Okay, we're returning to our agenda, which is old business, Parks and Recreation Committee bylaws, presented by Direct Recreation Director Matt Kasparius. The Town Council will revisit the Parks and Recreation Committee bylaws as discussed at the August 24th, 2014 Town Council meeting. Go right ahead, Matt.
Okay, so obviously we were here back in August and we had some discussion about some of the items that were in here. We've gone back, we've looked at them again, and this is essentially, you know, the revised version, but ultimately, in order to change the bylaws for the committee, it would be requested, we would have to request a charter change because the membership terms in the are dictated in the town's charter. Essentially what we're you know, the problem that we have right now, and they've had for a couple of years now, is they have a lot of vacant seats. Right now we have 4 vacant seats on the board. And so with 12 slots, you know, realistically we need 7 people to get 7 out of the 8 in attendance in order to have quorum, which doesn't always happen. And so essentially what they are proposing is, what we are proposing is scaling back the membership a little bit, changing it to 1 regular member, and then 1 member from the MYA, senior citizen, and school boards with an alternate for each of those 3 organizations. Right now, only the school board has an alternate. The MYA doesn't, and the senior citizen group doesn't, and then obviously the town council rep, giving us a new total of 10, and our quorum then drops down to 6, which makes it a little bit easier. But we've got, you know, active participation from one of those, from the rest of those members, so it just gives us makes it a little easier to hopefully hold those meetings. We did drop the high school student rep. We've had very little interest over the years. You know, we get somebody that's interested and says, "Oh yeah, I'm in," and then we never see them. You know, they may come to one meeting and then they get too busy with other things, and ultimately we decided that it wasn't necessarily a valuable addition to the committee.
So presently, it's 14 members?
Yes.
And
yeah, it's 12 members, 2 alternates.
12, okay.
And then each of the organizations.
And you're proposing 10.
Right.
And you're getting rid of
1 of the regular members, the
high
2
school.
regular alternates, and the high school student rep.
Okay, expert charter people. It's in the charter, right? So wouldn't that have to be proposed for charter change?
Right. Well, then that's what we're looking for.
Ah. Okay, and in order to do that, it has to go up to ballot, right?
Yes.
Okay. Aren't you impressed I knew that? I'm sorry, say again.
We would have to get roll, if the council so chooses to move this forward, we definitely would have to have something in the January timeframe, a public hearing on it, and get it rolling forward.
Is this considered the first reading then?
I would think so.
I thought it would have to be posted as such, but I didn't know.
So would we logistically have time to complete it in time?
I do not know the answer to that.
I mean, personally, I don't see any reason why not. It's just a matter of writing it correctly, however it's supposed to be, in timeline. I'm not sure what the consensus of the council is.
We have plenty of meetings in January to try and deal
bingo.
with issues.
Sure, we can always
So-
throw it onto a budget meeting, couldn't we, as a...
Yeah. And it's gonna be, it has to be a certain period of time in between, but I think it's only a week. I'm not sure. I'll have to look, I'd have to look.
think it's 7 days.
Yeah, that's what I think as well.
7 days. You can't, at the final meeting, you need 7 days before you can vote again.
Yeah.
I believe.
Okay, Lon, Bill, and then Dan.
Yes, is this coming into us as a revision of the charter?
It's coming in both, really. It's the bylaw, but the bylaw can't change unless the charter changes, but it's only the membership section of the bylaw or of the charter that has to change.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Because it's both.
Yeah, both.
Both?
Yeah.
So, like, would the council be, would a councilor be out of bounds if there might be question about the makeup of the committee?
No. I don't think so. No.
Okay, thank you.
Bill?
Mine's more just a question of process. I've read the document, I've made a couple of edits, and I have a couple of questions, so I don't know if you want to take them now, or do you want to wait for the first reading? I just wanted to defer to the councils.
If there are some suggestions regarding the changes to the bylaws, we might as well kill two birds with one stone tonight.
Do you mind if I make my questions and comments by section? Is that possible?
That's okay with me.
Okay. Section 1.
Yep.
I believe where it says hereinafter referred to as the committee should be in quotations.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay,
I'm sorry,
section
Bill.
2. On the second line, beginning of the second sentence, it reads, "The committee shall study, advise, and recommend to the director and manager on matters of policy pertaining to the Parks and Recreation Department. The committee shall report to the town council as a whole, either through themselves or through the director of Parks and Recreation, relative to any studies with their recommendations as requested by the town council." I understand what I read, but I have no idea what it's telling me. It seemed awfully conflicting as to what the scope of that purpose is. I have nothing to offer to change it. It just struck me as really awkward.
So if I may, I think they're trying to suggest that the committee can't come independently or as subcommittees or are opposing factions on the committee. They have to come as a whole body to report to the town council. So if they have division and they can't have a dissenting report or something like that come to the town council, the idea is that the committee comes together as one unit to make its presentations, and does it through the Parks and Rec director as their primary contact, rather than just applying directly to the council.
Is there any way to simplify? I mean, I like what you said, Tom. Is there any way to simplify that? Or do you think Matt could come back and try and simplify that? I mean,
Yep.
if possible.
Yeah, take a look.
Turning to page 2. Under
Excuse
sorry,
me.
I apologize.
You just might want to divide that into 2 sections,
Okay.
Yeah.
okay? That's one way to attack it.
Yeah.
Page 2? Bill?
Page 2, under section 1. There shall be a Parks and Rec committee consisting of 10 residents of the town of Merrimack, period. The town council shall appoint 6 members of the committee for 3-year terms who will serve for a period of 3 years each. Is that redundant?
Might be.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Members of the committee take out for 3-year terms and just say who will serve for a period of 3 years each.
Sounds like they left the idea of staggering the terms out.
Right. Good catch, Bill.
They should be staggered, shouldn't they, though?
Right, they
No.
will be.
I think that's
Oh,
what
yeah,
they're trying
Well,
to
they
should
are
be, yeah.
anyway.
but they didn't get it set.
Any other sections? Okay,
Moving
continue.
on, one town council member shall be appointed annually to serve as an ex officio member. In addition, 3 members shall be recommended from Merrimack organizations. It then goes on to read, there shall be 1 voting member from each of the following organizations, and it goes to name the MYA, the Senior Citizens, and the School Board. So my question is, should it read 3 members and 3 alternate members, or should it read up to 6 members shall be recommended? And I see shakings of heads.
I wouldn't think you'd want to. I wouldn't think you'd want to say 6 members, or it might imply that 6 members could vote.
Right.
And I agree.
Right.
I agree with
This
you on
says
that.
clearly that 3 can vote, and they can have backups or alternates in case they can't show up.
So don't you think it should read 3 members and up to 3 alternate members? Or 3 alternate members?
I think it sort of says that. Each of the 3 organizations may also select an alternate member. That kind of implies
I
to
think
me
it
per
does, too.
organization. Is that where your question?
Well, it implies that you're gonna have, the school board's gonna have a member and an alternate member, and both could conceivably go to the meeting and participate.
They can go to the meeting and participate, in
Can't
my
vote.
opinion. They can't vote.
Yeah, the alternate can't vote if.
And I understand that, I understand that.
Are you thinking that alternates shouldn't be used unless there's an absence?
That's what I'm thinking.
Well, and they wouldn't vote unless the other was absent, and they became the primary member. But
They should be
we
able
have
to attend.
we have attempted in several organizations to allow them to attend and participate, so that they're aware of what's going on and what the discussion is. They just can't vote, so that they offer their opinion and their expertise, maybe.
Or in a situation where they do have to vote in the future, they have a
They're
history.
aware of what's being discussed.
But when you look at the organization of like the planning board and the ZBA, we have alternate members, and the alternate members make up a part of that membership piece. It's clearly defined for some of the other organizations that have alternate members. It clearly defines them as an alternate member, where this is unique, and each organization has a full member and an alternate member. To me, it doesn't clearly state that. It's just saying 3 members shall be recommended from an organization.
So do we, sorry, through you, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Do we just add a line that says, alternate members vote in the place of,
Only in times of
only at
absence.
times of absence? Yeah.
I mean, I think that would, I mean,
Who shall serve if the full member is unable to attend?
perfect, yeah.
There you
The other thing I think you ought to do is you ought to break this paragraph up,
go. Yeah, it's a long one.
okay? Do the one about the regular pieces, and then talk about the
Yep.
individual, the 3 organizational members, and then speak to the alternates, and have that as 3 separate sections in there.
Yeah, I agree. That adds
And
to the
then,
clarity.
and then also include a vacancy piece.
And then the last, under section 4.
Yeah.
Where it reads town clerk's office, clerks should have an apostrophe between the K and the S.
Yep.
Do we want to
You
make,
mean there's only one?
do we want to put something in there that the minutes have to be posted online, or is that just kind of understood?
I don't know the answer.
They
Eileen,
only have to be
available?
clerk's office,
Okay,
Available.
I believe. But, I mean, we put them online as much as we can.
that's correct. Do we
Do we
really?
need to write it?
Well, do we need to
Is that what
codify,
you're
is what I'm saying, so. If we don't, it's no big deal.
Okay.
That's all I had, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, so, yes, John?
I just wanted to confirm, for the sake of the public, you're presenting this, is this the bylaws of the committee? Or are
This
these
is-
bylaws as written by you for the committee?
This is the bylaws of the committee.
So the committee put this together, and you're their voice?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Dan?
I think the biggest challenge in being on the representative from the council to the committee, and paying attention to that committee over the years too. I think the charter committee several years ago came up with that number 12, and I think in hindsight now over several years it was just too big. It's just too big of a number to expect. There's a lot of great people who are participated in this committee. So as the next weeks come up, I would just suggest that all of us think about that number 10. I'm not convinced 10 is the right number. I'm thinking more 8, and this is just my opinion, and maybe you beef up the alternates number. So 12 has been really hard to get. I think 10 may just be still hard to get. I think 8 is more reasonable. And then, like I said, if you just gave some thought to having more of the alternates come up, and then that way, be a little tighter.
Yeah.
And then talk about some of the groups that we may or may not have to have. Nothing against the adult community center, but perhaps that's a role that maybe they're just not that much interest on their part. Even the school committee, perhaps, I don't know. Maybe they still, if they really feel passionate about being on it, then let's hear from them. If they don't, I mean, they're stretched with a lot of different committees and something. But that was my biggest thing out of the bylaws. As you can see, it isn't really complicated. It's 4 pages, 3 pages. I think, but speed is quickly. So if we're thinking about what might bother us or concern us over the next couple of weeks, then like Tom said, if we put it in one of our budget meetings, we'll already have thought it through. And then, because I think it's important that we, with a little bit of diligence on our part, we'll get it on the ballot for this spring. That's it. Thank you.
Okay,
Just
so
for
I guess, go ahead, Tom.
clarification, the reason 12 was there, because that's what it was. When the charter commission looked at it, we just kept it the same.
Sure.
Because 10 years ago, there was the interest.
Yeah.
To some extent.
Sure.
So how do we proceed from here? How about Matt and Eileen proposing, maybe do a little some phone calls? Talk to the school board and say, what do you think about not having, or do you really want to be involved? Or the senior center, talk to them and see what they think about maintaining the membership. That'll give you some sort of gauge to even lower the number, perhaps.
And if I can, I want to stress, I'm not particularly trying to single out any particular
Absolutely.
group to say, you're not welcome or your input. But if we're going to rewrite them for the next 10 years, now is the time to put those ideas forward and see where the interest lies.
But ask them. They may say,
Sure.
we're really not.
Yeah.
We're too busy.
Yeah.
We'll keep an eye on the agendas, and if something comes up. Tom?
Well,
I heard you moan. So.
the format, I think in terms of the school board and the other organizations, you may want to send them a letter. Might make it a little bit more formal, just doing it on the phone. You're going to get onto all kinds of.
He said, she said,
yeah, that sort of stuff, and just give them a deadline.
Good idea. Lon and then Finley.
Okay, I think the discussion has boiled down, at least in my mind, that we are talking about a charter revision, whether it be focused on makeup of a committee or in general the bylaws of the Parks and Rec Committee. I guess I'll be having some conversations with people about Tom's concern or about the organizations that are specifically mentioned and their role in what I consider to be a town function. Parks and Rec, we've of late, even though I wasn't a member of the council at the time, I know you people have been focused on it, and you've made it more a point of focus of late. We've made some monetary move, put some money in that hadn't been there previously. I suspect that effort's going to continue. I guess I'm suggesting, at least I'm leaning to the town calling the shots. We'll formulate the committee. Thank you.
Okay.
Finley?
Actually, I don't even need it for tonight, but I was wondering about participation of the organizations, because I've not sat on the Parks and Rec Committee, but to Lon's point, I can appreciate that, which is why I really don't have to ask a question tonight. I can wait for the first reading, see what comes forward with those thoughts already on the table.
I appreciate I'll be having some conversation.
Okay. Excellent. Tom?
They may think it's a blessing in disguise.
He might.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to raise the issue or anything like that
So-
for whatever reason. They just, hey, that's
So
a good
you're
idea.
suggesting we not contact them, just
Oh, no, no.
ponder? Oh. Oh, no. Fine.
No, I'm not suggesting that at all.
Communication's always better.
Oh, yes, I understand.
Really?
So do you understand the direction we're?
Just another idea, because this is about changing some ideas. Just the word liaison. It doesn't prevent a school board member or any other person to be one of those volunteers as just Joe Q citizen, who happens to be a school board member who wants to be on the Park and Rec Committee. It's just the formalization of several groups having a liaison as a designated spot should be open for debate for the next couple of weeks.
Excellent. Okay, we're all set. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, you're gonna be back. Road acceptance of Dumas Lane, submitted by Public Works Deputy Director Kyle Fox. At the Planning Board meeting on December 2nd, 2014, per subdivision regulation section 50101.1F, the Planning Board has released the performance bond in favor of the 2-year maintenance bond and recommended acceptance of Dumas Lane by the Town Council. Acceptance of the road is conditioned upon receipt of the 2-year maintenance bond in the amount of $44,603.50. Go right ahead, Kyle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Council, for having me tonight. You pretty much summed up the agenda item fairly well. Dumas Lane is a new road that's been constructed over the past couple of years. It's located off of Brienne Drive, which is off of Bean Road near West Road. It was part of a larger project that was started a number of years ago to construct Brienne Drive, called the Butterfield subdivision. Work on the project completed earlier this year. Public Works was involved in all the inspections. The road was built properly, and everything is in proper order, and we're certainly recommending acceptance. Upon Town Council accepting the road, Public Works would take over the maintenance of the road, including plowing and any other maintenance required.
Okay, any questions, comments? Yes, Finley.
I'll move the acceptance of Dumas Lane, conditioned upon the receipt of a 2-year maintenance bond in the amount of $44,603.50.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Rothaus, seconded by Councilor Mahon. Any other discussion, questions? None. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's everyone. 700. Thank you very much, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle.
Good night.
Good night. Wasserman Park presentation submitted by Parks and Recreation Director Matthew Kasparius. Matt Kasparius will present the council with his recommendations for Wasserman Park improvement funds. Whenever you're ready, Matt.
Okay. First of all, I would just want to start by thanking the council for this appropriation. We're going to be able to do quite a bit with it. First, and we'll, save a lot more of the buildings than, just left. If we were just left with the normal maintenance budget, we'd probably lose a lot more buildings, and things ultimately would cost a lot more expensive. Before I get into, I'm not familiar with this laptop, so I just got. Okay. Before I get into kind of specifically what we're going to do, what I'm recommending that we do with the funds, I want to talk a little bit about what's possible. In my opinion, we have really an untapped community resource here, and something that most towns don't have. I'm only familiar with one other town that has something like this in New Hampshire, and only 2 in Massachusetts that I know of that have this type of amenity. And those places are, have programs running 7 days a week, all hours of the day, which can bring in significant revenues for the town. Obviously, we want to maintain the rustic nature of the park, but we want it to be more than just camp. We want, increasing community events, after-school programs, adult programs, and I'll get into those in just a second. But with the camp in general, 99% of the time, municipal day camps are run in schools. And so, you're using a classroom, a gym, an auditorium, and a cafeteria maybe. They don't have that connection to the outdoor environment that we do to be able to do kind of the environmental education or some of the sports activities or those kinds of things. In my former community of Manchester by the Sea, Massachusetts, when I started there in 2006, the department was running about 80 programs a year and had a budget of about $110,000, $120,000. When I left 8 years later, we had over $400,000 in program revenues, And we were operating as a self-supporting entity. We had over 300 programs, and that was a community of 5,000 residents. So Merrimack being 5 times the size and having this resource, I've got about 5 pages of potential programs already kind of mapped out in my head and on my computer of some of the things that we can do. Yeah, that is. You know,
Wrote the job description?
What? As part of this, obviously, we want to, increase access to the park for residents. So it's not just a camp. Some of the things that we've looked, we can potentially do here. This would be an ideal location for environmental nature-based activities, Project Wild. Teacher training with, biology and natural sciences and those types of things. Birds, trees, outdoor learning skills, but also things like canoeing, sailing lessons, snowshoeing, cross-country skiing. One of the interesting ones, actually, that would work really well there would be the advanced medical for wilderness, wilderness first responder, wilderness EMT. I happen to hold a certification as a first responder. My initial certification I had to go all the way to Colorado to get. My recertification I had to go to Maine to get, and so people will pay, the first responder for certification is about $700, and the EMTs is a couple $1,000 just for one person to attend, and they always fill. So those types of things can do really well here. Search and rescue training. We actually had a couple of weeks ago, we had the police department actually came over to Wasserman Park, and they were doing some training, searching for suspects. They had the K-9 unit in, going through some of the closed buildings that we had, and that type of thing, which was so we can kind of be a regional resource for those types of things. But health and wellness, obviously, it's nice and hilly in the park. We've actually started doing a walking program this fall. This coming winter, I'm going to be leading some snowshoeing activities 1 day a week, and then probably in the spring we'll go back to walking because it is, you get a good workout in the park. It's just a start. We're also looking at, it's a, you've got the buildings for at least spring, summer, and fall. You can do, classroom type lectures. I've actually got somebody coming in January to do, they're doing it here, but kind of healthy living lecture series, lunch lecture series kind of things. And of course, sports. We've talked a couple of months ago about the idea of disc golf. I actually have there's a group of residents that approached the Parks and Rec Committee a couple of months ago about the idea of putting in a disc golf course on the land where we just did all the tree clearing last spring. They're working on a proposal to bring to you sometime in January or February some point. So, which would add another amenity to the park. And then, special events, snowshoes, cross-country skiing, triathlons, people pay a fee, for the service, after-school programs, those types of things. One of the things that, when we get to my budget next month, when I come before you guys, one of the things that I've asked for is to restore weekend lifeguard coverage. And, my budget's fairly close to level from what it was last year. And, the park's getting a fair amount of use on weekends. On any given weekend, there's between 100 and 200 people in the park, and probably half of those are at the waterfront. And so for me, I always kind of cringed that there is no lifeguards, which is why it's in that budget request, and we'll get to that in January. But if we had lifeguard coverage, one of the things we could potentially do would be to rent out the canoes and sailboats that we already own. The camp uses them obviously for the 8 weeks of the summer, but if we had the staff there, we could potentially rent them out, generating some income, so when we have to replace those boats down the road. One of the other things that we could potentially do, in my old town, we used to get a lot of film productions, TV commercials, movies, those types of things, and we would generate anywhere between $3,000 and $30,000 a year. And I'll give you an example. We had the movie The Proposal. They rented my parking lot at my beach for the month of April. Nobody was there anyway, and paid us $30,000 for a month to store their trailers there. And so those kinds of things. And so I have coming somewhere down the road as a proposal about film production type things, movie film that we could potentially look at and have a policy in place. Our buildings obviously do not have sprinkler systems, the function hall and the theater, and which does limit their use a little bit, and because they don't have sprinklers, we're allowed to use them for our programs and events, but we can't rent them out anymore. At some point down the road, obviously, we would be looking to hopefully restore at least sprinklers to the function hall, because again, it would be an additional revenue source stream down the road. Parties, theater groups, conference center. I had a conversation with the fire department yesterday about if you have sprinklers in the function hall, you could actually fix up and use downstairs as classrooms, and that would be permissible as long as it was accessible, which would be fairly easy to do. But those are just some of the ideas. Like I said, I've got about 5 pages of notes in my office right now. So we have, with the $55,000, we developed a 4-phase list of projects. Obviously, phase 1 is what we're proposing for the $55,000. We're looking at addressing kind of our critical health and safety issues, buildings that are falling down, improving accessibility, providing impact that that's going to do the most good, and having a need for it, but while still maintaining that rustic nature of the park. So overall, this is, as you'll see on the screen here, is our phase 1 proposal for the project list. And one of the things I'm going to do here, I have a slide on the next one which has an aerial shot of the park, but it's not a great slide for seeing where buildings are in the park, so I do have a handout.
Thanks, appreciate it.
It makes it a little easier to see kind of what buildings we're impacting and where they are, and just in case you're not familiar with every single building in the park, makes it a little easier to see.
Did we lose one because of a tree?
Yes, we did.
The one that we just repaired?
And we have, with that, we're waiting basically on the insurance company right now, unless Paul's got an update. But so the first phase of the project, or the first item on our list, was looking at the creation of a new lower parking lot on the site where the old dining hall used to be, down near the water. As part of that, we would be taking down one of the cabins down there and demoing the pump house. And I'm going to talk about these kind of generally, and then we'll get into each one in specifics in just a second. The function hall, roughly 1/3 to 1/2 of the siding is kind of rotten, falling apart, trims just kind of disintegrating, holes in the walls, those kinds of things. The theater roof doesn't need much. It's just kind of minor repairs, and again, I'll get into these in specifics in a second. Our arts and crafts building is in significantly tough shape, but it's one that we use quite a bit during the summer, but it also has the potential for at least 3-season use down the road, once it's fixed up. The Parks and Rec office and the day camp office, making both of those buildings accessible. And then lastly, Bears Den Cabin 12 is one of the ones that's, we currently have 5 buildings on the property that are closed, and that's being one of them, but that one's the one that needs the least amount of work to put it back in service, which would give us a home for some of these new programs that I'm proposing, so that, camp uses basically the cabins that we have that are open. So with Bears Den, it would give us a place to start adding some new things. For example, a half-day camp option for kids that aren't quite old enough for camp.
You're saying using cabin 12, which is currently closed?
Yeah, if we fixed it up so that it'd be one place that we could do that. And so this is our kind of aerial view of the park, and like I said, I tried to mark it, but it's a little easier to see it on the sheet that you have in front of you. Just because, again, the tree cover covers most of the buildings here. So we'll move in. So the first one is increasing accessibility to the waterfront. And this project started actually with a conversation with Councilman Dwyer, Rick Seymour, and Adam Jacobs about whether it was feasible to put in a parking lot down where the dining hall used to be. It's just an open field at this point. It gets a little muddy. But it would be an option, you know, and interestingly, on the day that we took a walk down there back at the end of the summer, there was about 7 families walking with strollers, you know, huffing and puffing their way up the hill as we were having that conversation, you know.
Aren't they there for health and?
Not all of them.
Yes, but when you're carrying a couple of babies who aren't in school and a cooler and some chairs, it's pretty daunting as you can guess. But
My wife and I did that as
I'm sure
elder members of the population, lugging 2 grandkids up that road.
Tougher than most of us. But as Matt said, the timing was impeccable. As we're all down there, we're all coming up, and they're all like, you know.
We could rent golf carts out.
I wish I had.
Let's get 3 or 4 golf carts, rent them out for the day to go up and down.
There you go. It's probably the biggest concern that I hear on a routine basis from people in the park is, you know, that hill climb and, you know, getting back up to that parking lot. What we would propose would be a gravel-based parking lot. We wouldn't be paving it. It would hold roughly 22 to 24 cars. And then you probably have 2 extra spaces on the side on the current pavement for, you know, handicap parking, so that they're not dealing with the gravel. What we would then do would we would widen the entrance road from basically my office down to where it cuts off to that junction that, you know, there's a right-hand turn that goes down to that site, and then it loops around and comes back up. So we would widen that entrance road down by 4 feet, which would allow for 2-way traffic. We would then put barrier access gates on the turnoff to the function hall, and then another one below this parking area, obviously, so people aren't driving all the way down. It would also give us some control so that they're not driving down in the middle of the winter when it's snow and ice and they get stuck and, you know, those types of things. We would put park perimeter fence, and there's a small picture of what I'm talking about here on this particular slide, going down the access road just as a barrier for kids so that they're not running down, you know, out in the street. And if need be, we'd probably also look at kind of temporary speed bumps, at least during the summer months when there's, you know, 300 people in the park on any given day, just to make sure that cars are going slow. As part of this, we would take down cabin 13, and I'll show you a picture of it in just a second here, but it is highlighted on your map. Cabin 13 is probably the worst building in the park. The roof's gone. It's been closed for 3 or 4 years now. It's the one we were hoping for the tree to land on, but didn't. This particular picture here is the current site, you know, where the dining hall used to sit. It's nice and flat. What we'd be looking at is 2 rows of basically 12 cars, one on one side, one on the other side. It would again be a park fencing around the sides again to make sure cars aren't going up and over the edge. And then we would, so the top 2 pictures is cabin 13. You can see some of the damage to the roof. We know from the other cabin that to replace the roof is about $15,000 versus about $7,500 to take it down. And then kind of just in front of, between that particular cabin and the theater is this old stone pump house, which is all boarded up, but the roof is caved in, and now some of the cinder blocks are also starting to fall. So this first project would kind of encompass the parking area, the cabin, and the pump house. The cabin is right on the turnaround where people would be turning, so taking it down would actually make that turn much easier for people to navigate anyway. So it kind of works out in our favor in that instance. Let me back up 1 second here. The total cost to do those 3 things using DPW labor is $21,300. Now, of that, $8,000 is basically the cabin and the stone pump house, which leaves $13,300 is what it would cost us an actual cost to put that parking lot in and improve the accessibility for residents. That does not figure in their labor time. You know, Adam Jacobs figures that he would need 6 guys and it would take him 2 full weeks to do it. And it would include things, you know, obviously widening the road, the park fencing, drainage, gravel, perforated pipe, and erosion control for a cutoff trench, those types of things. The estimated value of that, of their time is between $12,000 and $14,000. But essentially, it's 2 weeks where you don't have 6 guys that are doing other things in town. And if we were to do this particular project, it would have to be a fall project just because spring's too busy. So we wouldn't be able to put it into place for this coming summer using DPW.
Tom, and then Bill had a question?
Yeah, is there any, are you gonna capture those amounts? Because there may be, you know, I'm just thinking, is there, something comes down the road, maybe it's a match? Is it worth doing that?
Grants or funding or something?
Yeah. As a, you know, an in-kind something or other, well, we did this and this, and the town provided us with this, so can we use that as a match for a?
Yeah, we could certainly, I haven't found any yet that you know, grants or whatnot that would apply in this situation, but I would, since we wouldn't be doing it until fall anyway, we could try to do that.
We'll be able to
in the
track
meantime.
the cost separately for their time.
Okay.
We'll ask Adam to break out their time separately, and we'll be able to
Yeah.
track that cost so that in case we do get some waterfront access grant come forward, we
What
would be able
about
to do that.
the equipment usage?
We would also track the number of hours and put it on a FEMA schedule of our reimbursement. We have those FEMA schedules every year.
Okay.
So we'd be able to do that too and get a total cost. That,
I'm not saying anything, you're right, I'm not
Yeah.
saying there's
Yeah,
anything out there, but
Yeah.
it might make sense to do that.
Yeah.
There's 2 things from my perspective. One, the possibility that could be used, and 2, it gives us a truer look at what it
Yeah.
actually is costing us to do the work.
Yep.
And we're not objecting to that.
Mhm.
Obviously, we wouldn't have moved the money over to your account
Right.
if we thought that was not worth the effort.
And Adam's very good at tracking part.
Bill?
Do we have any idea, I guess it's a question for either Eileen or Paul, do we have any idea what the DPW's workload is during the fall?
Busy. They got to close every field down. They got a bunch of prep work for winter. They got to get all the plows on the trucks. Their fall is busy, but not as busy as spring. Drainage and things of that sort that happen in the spring, repaving, repatching the roads, potholes, things like that. They're a lot busier in the spring than in the fall.
So from a logistical standpoint, it makes sense that if we're gonna do this and utilize DPW, this is the time to do it in the fall.
The other problem you also have is that with Matt in the camp, from basically June 15th till August 15th, no work is done at the camp. No contractors are in the camp. It's very hard to have equipment in the camp with that many kids, so that's out too.
I understand that piece,
So that's why fall is the better time to do it.
Okay, fair
Actually, the
enough.
best time to do it is in the summer, but since we can't do it in the summer,
Right.
the fall is a better time than the spring to do this job.
Okay.
Dan?
I get,
I'm sorry, Bill. Go
That's
ahead.
okay.
No, you want to finish?
It's just more of a curiosity question. Is there any historical value to the old stone pump house?
Not that I'm aware of.
Looks like concrete block.
It is, yeah.
So it's,
Yeah,
okay,
just a concrete block, yeah, but it's caving in.
fair enough. Thank you.
Okay, Dan.
I respectfully disagree and think the work should be done in late winter or early spring with keeping an open mind to what the weather may bring us, and we don't know. I'd hate to wait another whole year before the parking lot gets done. As you know, Matt, I just as soon say, let's go. We waited long enough, and just to say wait till fall, again, just to keep an open mind with the department heads to say if they have any opening, they already know it's going to take a couple weeks. Maybe it's only going to take 7 days. I don't know. But if you have an open mind of what the future, let the weather dictate. Maybe there's still a foot of snow come late April, and so it can't be done. But if there happens to be a little luck on our side, I just as soon I'm going to try to promote to get this done for this season and not wait another whole year. But that's my 2 cents
And
on
Nancy,
that.
I agree with you, and if only for, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, the Winter Carnival is really the only event that occurs down at Wasserman Park, and otherwise, it's vacant. I think winter poses a much better opportunity to get the work done as opposed to waiting to the following fall.
logistically, I don't know anything about construction, but are
Neither
there
do I.
issues related to, you shouldn't do that kind of work and rest?
We'll talk it over with the DPW and see what they can do, with the understanding that that's what the desire is of the council.
I mean, I think it would be nice, but I can just envision that there are some construction kind of issues related to seasonal. And you never know. You're right. We might hit some luck.
It can work out, or there could be 10 feet of snow and it's
Exactly,
late
and
and
that
it
takes care of
just
that.
doesn't work. It takes care of that. Right. Just keep an open mind, everybody.
They keep the frost out, yeah. Okay, I think you can continue, Matt. Are we
Okay.
all set? Okay. go ahead, Matt.
Any other questions on that first piece? No? Okay. So the second project would be repairing the exterior of the function hall. As I said, we've got a lot of, siding and trim, window trim, and flashing and things like that where it's just completely rotted away. Yeah.
As you recall, the function hall now serves as the dining hall as well.
Yes,
So during, it's not just what we refer to as a function hall, but it actually is functional
Yes.
in that it is an integral part of the camp program.
So this slide shows you some of the issues that we see, going all the way down the roof line. It's all rotted out. The windows are kind of falling apart. We've got siding pieces that are just eating away. This piece of money would basically fix these issues. It's, like I said, it's about 1/3 to 1/2 of the building. When I had the contractor out looking at it, we figured $10,000 was a relatively safe money to replace those sections and then obviously repaint the sections as needed to match the existing color, or as close to matching as we can get to it. But talking beyond my notes here. This, as Eileen mentioned earlier, this building is heavily used during the summer, but also for a lot of our other events. The Winter Carnival, even though there's no heat in the building currently, the Winter Carnival does use it. The Easter egg hunt in March uses it, the Halloween party, and some of those other things. And down the road, obviously, when we start adding new programs, the building could be winterized and heat could be re-added down the road, which would obviously give us a place to hold this. And then it's one of these buildings where if we don't fix these issues, they're only going to get worse and get more expensive as we go. And so that's estimated at $10,000 for those repairs. Okay. The theater building is in overall pretty good shape. What we've got is 4 to 6 small little roof leaks, and what we're pretty sure is happening here, because it's a metal roof, and where the screws were attached to hold it into the structure, I think that it's leaking around the screw as the metal of the roof heats and contracts. We had the same issue on the day camp office this summer that we fixed in-house, and that's what was happening. So we're pretty reasonably sure that that's what's happening here. There's only one kind of really bad leak, and it's right above the stage, so you've got about a 5-foot puddle every time you get a heavy rainstorm. Most of the rest of them are relatively small, and again, usually only really heavy rainstorms, but something we want to deal with just before it does get worse. Okay.
Is that?
Finley, go ahead.
Sorry, thank you.
So-
Is that leak over the stage creating more of a problem for the stage?
It will.
Is it something we should protect then, so if it runs off into what I think is a concrete floor, but I don't even know?
Yeah, the rest of it's a concrete floor.
I mean, we should probably divert it in some fashion, so we don't have to think about repairing a stage if that's what we're going to leave it as.
Yeah. We've got a tub under it at the moment just to put something under there. Yeah, our first, one of the first big rainstorms we had this summer, the leak happens to be directly above one of the smoke detectors. So, of course, it was setting the smoke detector off when we had the heavy rainstorm, so that was fun to deal with. But, yeah, we do have something under it, so at least it's not dripping onto the wood.
Thank you.
Okay. The arts and crafts building, as I mentioned, has fallen into pretty significant disrepair. Every time I've walked through through the camp with somebody, a parent or whatnot, and we get to this building and they go, "You're using this building? Really?" And we do use it a lot during the summer. It's one that, again, it's got basically 4 rooms inside, so it can house a lot of people to do a lot of different things. And again, as we expand other program ideas, we can use it, kind of spring and summer and fall, when camp's not in session, to do other things with it once it's fixed up. Essentially, we would be looking at, and let me actually go to the next slide here because it's a better. This is my favorite picture. This was my first experience walking into this building last spring. And, pretty much every wall and ceiling in these buildings and a lot of the cabins look like this. And it was campers and staff over the last 3 or 4 years that had all decided to sign their name. And I know it's an arts and crafts building. It doesn't really present a very good image of the town when you're walking through with a prospective parent and going, "Oh yeah, this is arts and crafts," and the floor is creaking, and there's holes in the ceiling, and this kind of thing. So we've actually since painted the walls, the side walls, white. We haven't touched the ceiling because the sheetrock on the ceiling needs to be replaced. It's got, in a lot of sections, it's got holes and that kind of thing. I'm kind of afraid to see what's above it when we do pull it down, but probably, or squirrels, because we've had that issue too. But we do have a small leak. There's a roof vent in the middle of the building that is leaking around the vent. It just needs to be reflashed, that we'd fix. Painting the exterior, and I was actually approached about a month ago by a Girl Scout that wants to, for her Gold Award project, to actually repaint the interior and do a bunch of murals and those kinds of things, which would be nice, and will save us some painting costs as well. So it's this building. With this, we would also fix, on one side of the building, there's this old rusted railing that's just kind of falling apart and disintegrating. I didn't take a picture of it, and then on the ramp that's on the other side, there's a couple of minor little repairs that we need to make to that, just to make that sound again. But we're looking at about $5,000 for this building, but again, we do use it quite a bit.
Bill, you had a question?
Yeah, Matt, any mold concerns in the building?
Not that I've seen any. Like I said, there's only one leak that I'm aware of, and like I said, it's right around the stack. And then we've got a bucket under it at the moment until we can fix it the proper way. So, and again, when we pull down the roof, when we pull down the ceiling, we may find some more surprises.
This was one of the buildings that we fixed up in the last renovation round. And
Well, that's why.
And we looked at it, that we had somebody go in there and they didn't have any mold concerns. And like Matt said, it's only the flashing around the vent pipe that's leaking right now.
Right.
Okay.
So we don't believe so. Other questions on arts and crafts?
Is there a toilet in there?
There is.
Okay, go ahead,
Okay.
Matt.
This is obviously my office over in the park. And one of the things is, obviously, it's not currently ADA accessible. But also beyond that, the steps that go into the office door, it's from that top concrete block, it's actually too high of a step for current building codes. So what we're proposing here is obviously an ADA accessible ramp that would go from that main entrance. We'd have basically a deck in the front, and then it would go to the left in this picture and down the sidewalk on the side of the building. There is enough room so it wouldn't actually extend into the parking lot. I had talked to Fred Kelly over at the building department a little bit about it the other day. We don't have to worry about putting a roof on the ramp or anything like you would do necessarily here. It just can be a standard ramp like we would do, that we already have in the rest of the park. We just have to make sure we kept it clear of snow and ice, but that's DPW salts our steps and stuff anyway already during the winter, so that shouldn't be that big of a deal. And that's estimated at $6,700. And I'll talk more about our estimates when I get to the end here. The day camp office, which also houses our camp nurse, during the summer months, we get a lot of complaints from parents and grandparents in particular about the concrete steps that are on the left-hand side of this picture that go into that main camp office door. And where it's our camp health office as well, I always kind of wonder, okay, what happens when the kid has, falls and hurts his leg? How does he get in? Do you carry him? Do you, on the right-hand side of that boulder there is actually, there's a piece of pavement and it's actually pretty flat ground, so we can do one of basically two things. One is go up to the building, jut to the left, and then go into the main entrance door. Or the second option would be to actually take one of the windows on that right-hand side, make it a straight shot in, turn the window into a door, and basically reverse our rolls inside, which would probably be cheaper than the $6,500 that I proposed, because you're only going straight in and not to the left and not up. But again, just accessibility, because it is used, during the summer months. And what are we up to? Okay, and this is Bear's Den Cabin. This is the first building on the left-hand side when you go down the hill just after the tennis courts. As I said, it's been closed for 3.5 years now, I think. It needs the least amount of work. It's mostly the electrical updates, putting in the exit signs and fixing some of the wiring, painting the exteriors. There was a small leak in the back corner of the building, but it's a relatively minor leak. And it's nice big open space inside, so it could serve as a future home for some of these new programs that I want to start adding down the road if we get done. And that was, where's my estimate on that one? That was $4,500 for that particular cabin, and I'm not going to get into those. So those total projects count up to our $55,000, and I'll slide back up to that slide, wherever it is. Now, I've put them kind of in order of, I'll call it preference, and where I think we need it the most. If when we go out to bid with some of these projects, repair work on the function hall and the arts and crafts and those kinds of things, if those numbers obviously start coming in higher, then obviously we'd hold off on cabin 12, or maybe we hold off on the ramp, or depending on how much we need to make. And similarly, if we come in under budget, which would be really nice, if we were to save money with a state grant or something, then we would look at some of our next projects on the list. We have the MYA storage building, which is one of our other closed buildings, but could be restored. Wasserman House realistically probably needs to come down. It's because it's just cost prohibitive to try and save that with all the work that it needs. And then there's another cabin 15 down at the bottom of the hill next to the lake that's in some tough shape, and will probably end up coming down at some point unless I find some other way to fund it in the near future, just because it's kind of right on the verge of saving versus not saving due to estimated costs of it. So that's what I have for my recommendations for the $55,000. Do you have any questions? Bill?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And just speaking for myself, Matt, I think what you've done with this memo is you've actually given the councils here a plan of attack for Wasserman Park over the next 3 to 5 years. And I want to thank you, and I don't know if the Parks and Rec Committee were helpful and instrumental in pulling this together, but I really want to thank all the people that were involved to put this together, because it really now, I think, gives us a focal point of once we get done, once you expend your $55,000, we can have a better idea of where we want to start making improvements to Wasserman, because it's one of our crown jewels in the community. I've said it. I don't mean to be redundant, but I really want to. It's long overdue that we've needed some type of a prioritization plan for Wasserman Park, and I imagine it was just a lot of time and sweat equity on you and the P&R committee. So, job well done. It was well written. It,
Thank you.
Really laid out everything for me. It was clear, and I really appreciate the hard work that went into it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Dan?
Bill, I take exception to Bill in a humorous way, but shame on us if we take 3 to 5 years to make some of the things that happen. I thank all of you and Tom when we put together that night of putting $55,000 in the kitty to get some of these major things done. But Tom said it again tonight. We hired this guy for a lot of good reasons, and I'm going to propose in January when we all talk about it now. So I don't want to get too involved with it, but just so you have the idea in the next couple of weeks, it doesn't need $1 million, but I'll just throwing an estimated amount of $100,000, so to speak. What I really feel is the jewel that gets this thing going and inviting EMT classes and certifications is the function hall. The function hall, if it needs to be coded with sprinkler systems and heating, and it should be a 12-month facility. I guarantee you, if that is a 12-month facility, then that thing will be making money. And our investment of whatever that dollar amount is to make it up and running as such, the payback, I'd be amazed if it was more than 3 years. Because if that building was really usable to do some of the programs and the things that he would want to get these participant people to come in, it's at the function hall. So if the function hall was to be brought to code, but it's going to take money to do that, but I think that's money really well spent. And I'd like to be talking about it in more detail this coming budget season, but let's not wait 5 years. Thanks.
Bill?
And just to dovetail off of Dan's comment, Matt had talked about using a cistern system for the theater. Did I read that?
That was one idea. I had also had a conversation with John Manuel over at the fire department about just a water tank would work
Right,
as well.
and I'm wondering whether, to go along with what Dan said, whether that needs to be part of a larger conversation, because if we do consider, putting in a functional sprinkler and heating system for the function hall, whether or not can we feasibly afford, setting up the theater in such a way? Is there any, by doing two projects at two different facilities, can maybe potentially save some money and accomplish both the same task at the same time, as opposed to having a cistern system in one and a state-of-the-art sprinkler thing? If we can kill those two facilities with that type of equipment, it would bear investigating, I would think.
Keep in mind, you're gonna have to run the water down.
Yeah, I know. I'm well aware of that. Well aware of that.
Okay, so what do we have to do? We have to give Matt the consensus that we agree with his phase, or what?
Yes, what we wanted to do was, Matt obviously has a lot of energy and a lot of ideas, and we really appreciate it. He runs around up on top of my office in the wintertime, and I'm wondering what in the world is going on. Is he doing jumping jacks or what? He comes down the stairs and he's running by, and I can't even see him. It's a blur. So anyway, he has a lot of good ideas, and I'm hoping that you will concur with his list of initial expenditures.
Madam
and
Chair.
that's what I'm looking for.
Madam Chair, I would move that the Town Council endorse Phase 1 of the Casparius Wasserman Park renovation plan.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Boyd, second by Councilor Dwyer. Any other discussion? Yes, Lon?
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree with the motion and the second. A little concerned about the accuracy of your estimates.
Okay. I had walked with contractor Roger Blaze, who the town does a lot of work with to get most of these numbers, and some of it's example. For example, we know what a roof costs because we just had that tree fall, so we know what that cost.
All right. So it isn't just
It's not just pulled out
the
of
committee and whatever. Okay. One suggestion: if they're that accurate and you're able to save money, do the boat house leak and get that done. It looks like something you could do while you've got your rest of your roof patching material going.
Yep.
There. Yeah. Any other question or comments? Okay. Let's vote on the motion. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Okay, 7-0-0. Thank you very much, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay, last but certainly not least, you've got 10 minutes.
What,
You're going to give him 10 minutes. We have minutes.
I just wanted to, Eileen, on a presentation like that, I can't see the back, and it kills my neck trying to look at here. So if we could have a hard copy, or at least if I could have a hard copy, it would help me for those presentations
We
of
usually
a
do.
PowerPoint.
We will.
Thank you.
We usually do, I think.
You're
Thank
welcome,
you.
Laura. Good night.
Raleigh Espo.
1 second here, and pop my thing up there, and be good to go.
We've passed everything down to Eileen, right? Okay.
Yes.
Good. Okay.
Everything might be allowed.
Okay. Can't guarantee that. Okay.
Good evening. I come before you to discuss the first quarter financial reports of, for the town of Merrimack per the charter. Finance comes before the town once a quarter to discuss the prior quarter's financial results. I'll be coming before you again end of January before we start the deliberations to basically tell you how we're doing through the half year of this fiscal year. Just started some of these basic comparisons is the health insurance. Health insurance is a major cost for the town. It runs about $3 million a year. It has steadily gone up over the years, dating back to 2008, 2009. This year, we're running a little bit below last year's first quarter numbers, and these are all comparison of first quarter to first quarter. We're running a little below, about $3,000, $3,700 below last year's comparison, even though we had an increase of about 3.7% of our health insurance rates. The major reason there is because we had a lot of retirement and its timing issues of the retirees going off the books and the new hires coming on the books, and there's a delay in the health insurance. And right now, we're doing quite well with our estimates on health insurance. We have a little bit of savings throughout the budgets of about $3,700. Then New Hampshire retirement. This is another big one that we have. This is basically, besides our salaries, this is one of the largest expenses we have, and it's for the retirement system for the employees. Overall, we're about $2,000 under last year at this time. We have had some significant retirements, and with those retirements, the buyout on the back end bumps up some of the health insurance costs, and that's why some of the costs are a little bit higher. Then for police is running a little bit higher, even though our retirement rate stayed the same. The retirement system comes out and gives us rates for 2 years. Next year in the 15-16 budget, we'll have an increase in the retirement system rates. Right now, we're in the second year of the 2 years, so our retirement rates have been flat. However, the police are up a little bit, and that's due to the steps of the employees that they do have, and they getting their. Nobody got raises in the contract. However, their contract has steps, and the people are stepping up, and that's why the increase in the police department. The reason why the fire department's down a little bit is because they had some of the retirements that they had 5 people basically retire in the first quarter of this fiscal year, and they're slowly ramping up to hiring those individuals again. And the reason why Group 1's up a little bit is because the way we do our compensated absences in the budget, you'll know that's all in general government, and that's why that bump is there. If you look at the chart there, the last bar, it's a little bit higher. The blue bar all the way to the right is a little bit higher than the orange bar, and that's because how we budget for those compensated absences, these people's were already budgeted for the retirement, and we just have to swing that through the general government fund line to fund those retirements. Overtime is overall, once again, we're about $7,000 under last year's pace. The major factors is the fire department, because of their large turnover, their overtime rate's a little bit less than what it was in years past with some of the guys, so that's down a little bit. Police's overtime is down about $1,000. Communications overtime, though, is up significantly. That's up about $4,000 or about 50% over last year. The reason there is because they are in the process of two part-time positions are vacant, and they're trying to fill those positions. So they have to fill those part-time shifts with overtime. Highway is down a little bit. Solid waste overtime is up. It's up about $8,000 or about close to 90% over last year. And for solid waste, that's unique. When solid waste has overtime, it's always a vacancy. It's always backfilled with overtime because of their operations. Most of the guys are off on a Saturday. Well, the people they backfill from is the highway garage, and the highway already had their 40 hours. So whoever comes and works on a Saturday to help out the transfer station on one of their busiest days is 100% overtime. So that's some of it. And then there was some small overtime when we were taking down the cabin and the Red House over here to get those loads out to the dump to the transfer station without affecting the rest of the trash going to Concord. We brought the guy in on a Monday or an overtime day to run 8 hours of running the truck back and forth to not hurt the operations when it was being run to get rid of the regular household trash. Revenues, on a good note, revenues. Interest, we're seeing a little bump in interest.
Yeah,
but
from
we
0
won't,
to 0.1.
Yeah, we're up to 0.02.
Oh, even less.
But we will not see the interest come back. As most of you know, the last 2 days our 401ks have really gone up, and that's because of what the Fed said. And what the Fed said is basically going to hurt us interest revenue. They're not going to look at making a rate change until late next year, which would be the 15-16 budget, probably fourth quarter if we see any increase in rates. Building permits have come down back to normal levels. What happened there is last year we had Atrium Medical, and they came in the first quarter with a lot of building permits, and that bumped up our revenues to $61,000. We're more down to like $30,000 this year, and that's consistent with what we're budgeting. We're budgeting about $100,000. So for the summer, first from July to September, we'll see a little bit of a slow tick between now and the March area, and then we'll see an uptick again towards the end. So we believe we'll hit our estimate of $100,000 with that one. Interesting dividends and cash, we're probably not going to hit our $75,000 goal, but we have other revenues that have far exceeded our goal already for the first quarter that will more than make up for that difference. And of course, auto registrations are the highest they've been in my tenure here for the first quarter. We're at almost $1.1 million. That uptick continued from the fourth quarter, where in June alone we received the $400,000. So that means people are, and it's cyclical. Auto registration is cyclical. Every 3 to 4 years, you'll see an uptick, and then you'll start seeing them slide a little bit because people buy new cars, and then they'll slide back down as the second, third, fourth year, or lease new cars, and then when the lease is up, we'll see another uptick come down. Basically, the town is in great financial shape. I'm working with the auditors. They'll be in on Monday to help finalize the 2014, June 30th, 2014
Over
audit.
Christmas, you're going to be audited?
We're finalizing. We got the reports. We just want to
okay.
talk about some of the numbers and things of that size.
I know.
That's it. Well, either
That's
that or
true.
Scrooge.
That's
A
true.
Christmas
Bingo.
Carol, one or the other. But so we'll be finalizing that. Our fund balance has increased. We're up over $3 million now in our fund balance. So that went from roughly 1.9 million up to over 3.2 million dollars in the last 4 years. So we're moving in the right direction with fund balance and things of that sort. Questions?
Questions? Bill?
Yeah, just a quick one regarding the audit. Have they communicated anything that would be irregular or?
Unofficial, no management letter this year. There will be a comment letter sent out with the audit to the board. No findings. It was our first year with a new auditor, and they were overly happy. They usually, when you get the first year, it's usually a heck of an audit. It's a really trying times, but with my department and my deputy, Tom Boland, the audit went very smooth. They had all the information available to them at their fingertips. Our doors were open. All our records were open. They were quite impressed with the operations that we had, and they did mention that, but nothing major, no major findings as of now. We're in the process of trying to look at our subsequent events. In audit terms, that means from the end of the year, June 30th, 2014, to when the audit is published, so to speak. They look for major events or major things that might sway the town one way or the other, and we're just wrapping up the subsequent events with our legal counsel. And talked to him today, and he said even those look good, so we're in good shape. And right now, the town unemployment rate is less than the state rate, and with the developments that we have going on both ends of DW Dyway, down by Harris Pond, and up by Flatley's property and the airport road. The developments are building, and we're strong financially. We have sufficient reserves in the bank. Our cash reserves are sufficient to cover our everyday needs. And if we come into trouble, we'll be looking at that more closely. But like I said, we have sufficient appropriations to get through the rest of this fiscal year. As of now, if something major comes up, I'm sure Eileen will be the first to know, and then you'll be the second to know. Or I'll be the first to know, she'll be the second, and you'll be the third, however you want to look at that. And revenues right now are strong, knock on wood. I hope they continue this way. We got a little bit of a windfall on our insurance rebate from NHMA and Health Trust, more than what we were projecting last year. Also, at the budget time, when we were looking at what was going on, our rooms and meals actually came in higher than what we were projecting. So the state did keep their word and give us the extra money that they promised us from years past. And in the wastewater division, they actually started paying back what they owed us for paying those payments for upgrades of the dewatering and the sewer line interceptor and things of that sort that were on hold because they put the moratorium on it. Well, the moratorium got lifted, and we did receive the money, and we actually received it last year. We'll receive it again this year. We actually received it just the other day. So, we're in good financial shape. It's a little more than 10 minutes, I'm sorry.
Any other questions, Eileen?
Just one comment. There's basically two revenue sources that we currently get from the state, two large revenue sources, one being rooms and meals taxes, which looks positive because we're getting more, and often the second one, which is the highway block grant, they will short you at the end. So usually we'll receive a letter by the end of the fiscal year telling us, oh, by the way, we're not going to be able to give you $14,000 or so.
Right. And with that highway block grant, the reason why we were able to get the most aggressive bridge program is because of that 4-cent tax they put on gasoline and what they're projecting for revenues. So part of that also played in the funding of the bridges that we had with that when they're in Department of Transportation's look. So right now we didn't get the December letter yet, saying that usually in December, right around Christmas time, they give us the letter saying, oh, by the way, our revenues were XYZ and your new revenue amount is less. We haven't got that letter yet, so
It's in the mail.
it might be. We'll probably receive it tomorrow. Yeah. So
Thank you very much. All set, everyone?
Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Paul.
Paul.
Okay, minutes of December 4th, 2014.
Seconded.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, that's after, isn't it?
It's after.
You're trying to confuse me.
Doing a good job.
Usually it works too. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me refresh my brain here. Okay, so a motion is made by Lon Woods. Second.
Me.
Second by Bill Boyd. Any corrections, changes, modifications?
Page 5, line 30, where it reads, in FY11 only, can they put a comma and then a space? So that it reads.
After only?
No, in fiscal year 11, comma, space, only 365,000 was placed.
Comma in a space.
Comma in the space.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
Great. Any other changes? All those in favor of the motion accepting the minutes as modified, say aye.
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 Aye. 7-0-0.
Councilor Dwyer is talking now.
Okay. Comments from the press. Comments from the public.
Deborah Huffman, 60 Amherst Road, and I know it's very late, so I took
Don't
notes.
worry.
I'm going to stick to them. I'm not going off the notes, so this will be very brief. I want to thank the council for your decision to hold the Kinder Morgan presentation in public. I think that was the right decision. I appreciate that. And I thank you for posting the Kinder Morgan documents on the town website. That's great. In addition, I'd ask that you do all you can to encourage discussion of this project throughout the community before the Kinder Morgan presentation. Most people don't yet know what's involved with this project. They think Merrimack will get more natural gas. We won't, not a whiff. Or they think it's just a regular pipeline. It's not. It's a 36-inch distribution line with compressor stations and metering stations and blow-up valves and implications for insurance and mortgages and property values. And it does not just run under the power lines. It can't. As far as we know from other communities, it can't. They're not allowed to put it right there. We need to provide accurate information to our citizens, and we need to be sure to keep our businesses informed. The proposed route runs right next to several of our biggest employers, right next to the outlet mall, and right next to Budweiser. We have to remember that the Kinder Morgan presentation will be a sales pitch. They're legally required to meet with us, but their job is to convince us that this is the only alternative and that it's good for Merrimack. We have to do our own research. After Hollis and Fitzwilliam and Rindge and many other towns did their own research, their selectmen voted not to support this project. There's a lot to learn. So I'd ask the council to put the pipeline on future agenda items, to encourage the conversation, and as we learn new pieces of factual information that are pertinent to this town, I'd ask that we add those to the website in addition to the Kinder Morgan documents. They present their view. That's what they're supposed to do. That's what they're paid to do. That's good. They're doing their job. We have to do our job on our end and look for additional information. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Deborah.
Okay, the next is comments from the council. Bill?
Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Oh, Tom.
The same. Have a great holiday season, everybody.
And Merry Christmas to our town employees. Again, we appreciate what you do. Finley?
The same.
Okay.
And as well, I meant a couple of weeks ago, I did mean to mention that one of our neighbor kids, a kid named Tim Schaller, was brought on by Buffalo probably a year ago, I would say, and he is having opportunity now playing for the Buffalo Sabres from their American League team or whatever it is, their farm team. And so it's pretty doggone exciting to me, and so I'm happy for Tim and his family, and just wanted to share that.
Lon?
Yeah, my appreciation to the employees that we recognize tonight and all of their hard work and dedication. I'd be remiss if I didn't say a special word about Steve Dumas out at the transfer station. I was privileged to be an employee of his for 10 years and watched as he worked through what had been an established dump and a place to get rid of your trash to a very, very well-run and well-put-together transfer station. Many, many times it was Steve Dumas who stood in the gap and understood the implications of some of the things that people were suggesting, be they something that would work or something that wouldn't work. So, good job, Steve, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Happy Holidays to the community, and the council, and the manager.
And the finance, yeah. Anyone on this side? No?
We just agree.
Okay.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Mahan, seconded by Councilor Boyd. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 7-0-0.